to Sandy. Good morning, Sandy. How are you?
Good morning, Blake and Aaron. How are you guys doing today?
We are good. What do you got for us?
Awesome. All right. So we've got a baby shark that was found dead with a plastic slipper around its body.
Oh, I was
Yeah.
about ready to launch into the Baby Shark song, and then you made it a sad story.
So just reminding us, the Department of Environment is just reminding the public of the negative impact of plastic on marine life. Once again, being highlighted after this baby Caribbean reef shark was found deceased after apparently becoming entangled in a plastic slipper. So,
Oh,
folks, do your part. Dr. Joanna Kohler revealed the cause of death was suffocation after she did a postmortem and said, "Hey, let's all ensure that we keep plastics out of the environment, not on the beach, which it ends up in the ocean, and just do our part. I know we can't solve all the environmental issues in the world, but we can certainly help by not littering and really making that a serious consideration." Okay.
do you mean like a flip flop? Is that what you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a slipper. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. First responders underwent some mass casualty training. So congratulations to them. This is quite important. Never know when you're going to need it. So it looks like they had everybody there. It was sponsored by Hazard Management Team with the support of the Pan American Health Organization. So PAHO was involved in that. And they did it at the Owen Roberts International Airport. So of course, that would involve a number of different agencies working in collaboration with each other, just being prepared because you just never know. So we had the regiment, CBC, Port Authority, Coast Guard, Department of Environmental Health, prison, RCIPS, and fire service, as well as the airport authority and some healthcare workers. So they're all volunteer agencies. They're also volunteer agencies such as the Red Cross and community emergency response teams. So be prepared. That's the best
All
thing.
right.
All right. Final story of today. Short day today. $200,000. Deloitte report is to be published soon. So the Minister of Planning, Agriculture, Housing, and Infrastructure, Mr. J.E. Banks, said that a Deloitte report, which cost the government some almost $200,000 with recommendations in public transport, is going to be published soon. The minister was responding to questions from Georgetown North MP, Mr. Joseph Hugh, regarding the report and when it will be made public. And he said, soon come.
Okay.
So those are some of your news headlines this beautiful Thursday morning.
All right, Sandy, we'll catch your show coming up on Bobo 89.1 FM. We'll see you tomorrow for Friday headlines. All right.
Hey, awesome. Have a good one.
You too.
All right, beautiful people. We got a little bit of time left before we kick off, about a minute before we kick off on Bobo. So give me 1 second here. I'm going to grab all of our links. We're on our backup YouTube channel, so I'm going to send that out to everybody here in just a second. Let me grab those links for everyone.
Bigger, better, bolder. The cold, hard truth is taking talk to the next level. Right here on Bobo 89.1 FM, Cayman's Community Radio. We are still spilling the tea and committed to being part of the change that Cayman so desperately needs. Join Sandy Hill weekdays from 7:30 a.m. for Premier Access, Cayman Voices, Truthful Thursdays, and much more. Cayman's #1 talk show is now bigger, better, bolder, and more than talk. Getting results with hot topics, consumer reports, court exposés, and more.
I've come to set the record straight. I've come to shine the light on you. Let me introduce myself. I am the cold, hard truth.
Now, from the CMR studio in Grand Cayman, live, direct, it's the cold, hard truth. Now, join the conversation on 345-936-2626.
That number again is
345-936-2626.
All right, good morning. Cayman Islands, wake up. How are you guys doing this beautiful Thursday morning? Everybody's good? Is it a gorgeous day? Oh, look at that. Nice fluffy clouds in the sky. Oh, I love to look at the sky, don't you? Just reminds us of just how beautiful the earth is. I love to sky gaze at night too. Oh, the beautiful stars and the moon. Have you guys been looking at the moon the last couple nights? It's like just that little slither of a moon. And oh my gosh, it is so beautiful. I think the moon is beautiful throughout the entire, you know how it goes through its different cycles. I love a full moon. I love a half moon. I love what would we call just a slither of a moon. I love them all. So gorgeous. I remember when my daughter was a lot younger, she used to look at the moon a lot too. Like we'd be taking her out of the car and she's like, look, moon. I was like, aw. So I was cleaning out my computer the other day and not my computer, my phone. Because, oh my gosh, I've got over 60,000 still. I've deleted thousands of photos and whatever. And I still have over 60,000 photos. That doesn't even include videos. So I've got 60. Oh, look, it's down to 59,430 photos. 9,494 videos. Wow. What a hot mess. So I have been trying to clean that up. I was thinking about getting the new iPhone, but now I'm thinking I may wait until the iPhone 16 comes out. So I've been reading some reviews about the 15. And, you know, we just got the new iOS update. We're going to talk about some of this stuff today as part of our Tech Thursday. But in my mind, I was like, you know, if I'm going to get a new phone, let me not carry over stuff that I don't really need. So I'm going to undertake over the next month, because it's going to take me a minute to do this massive project of deleting all the stuff that I don't really need in my phone. Well, honey chow, I started on Saturday and I was kind of making my way through. And of course, there are things that I most definitely want to keep, including, you know, like when you have, you know, stuff for, let me see here now. When you have, why is this thing give me 3 images? 1 second. When you have family photos, family videos, and all that kind of stuff, right? So anywho, I said, yep, you know, I want to keep those items. Well, I came across some really, really funny videos and stuff that kind of took me back in time and made me chuckle. And to be honest, most of them were ones of my daughter. She is just so funny. The stuff that she would say. Kids are they're just so funny. I mean, I laugh. They make me laugh. What can I say? So anyway, there's one video, there's one that was kind of sad. Actually, I'm going to tell you guys about the sad one. Oh my goodness. Anyway, there was one where she was, you guys know that she has a sweet tooth, as do I. And so there was one where she was talking about, oh, mommy, there's candy in that drawer, but I'm not supposed to like candy, right? I was like, no, you're not. Hold on a second. I'm gonna, you guys got to see it. I'm not even telling it. I'm not even a good storyteller with this one, because it's just so funny. The way that she that she was saying it, that she had me cracking up. Because it's like in her little brain, you could see her working through it. Like she wanted the candy. So she was like looking at the drawer and I'm like, what are you doing in this drawer? She's like, there's candy in there. And I'm like, yes. And well, I'm not supposed to like candy, right? And I'm like, no, you're not. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. It is so hilarious. And then, of course, we have some great videos with her and Coco. Did I ever tell you about the one time that my husband decided to bring a crab in her house? Don't even ask. I was like, what is this crab doing in here? And he was just like thinking that this is funny. I'm like, that crab in the house is not funny, but the crab back outside. And of course, Coco didn't know what to make of the crab. She was like, what is this thing? Let me see if I can find this video. And then we've got epic ones of her like in tears. And I'm like, I don't even know what she's crying about in this one, but I'm like, oh, no. Whatever it is, mommy's not giving in to this moment. Because, they be trying your patience, ja. And then they bring on the waterworks and you just got to hold firm. You got to hold your position. Let me see if I can find the one with in the kitchen. And she used to love to dance as a baby. Like every time the music would come on, she would just start dancing. And I was like, oh my gosh. Let me see here now. Where's the kitchen one? I'm going to find it for you guys because this is hilarious. And then we have a little keyboard in the house. So she likes to fancy herself. She'd go and play on the keyboard, pretend like she's a pianist. I got to get her in some lessons. Is this the one with the, where's the one with her? And, all right, give me 1 second here. I'm going to find it. But look at this one. I'm going to play this one first because this one's kind of funny. Okay, so this one, I believe, let me see which one this one is. Oh gosh, I can't even remember. Okay, let's see. Oh yes, this is not long after she learned how to walk. Check this out. She'd tell you, come. Mommy. Look. Look at her. Just learning how to walk. Oh my gosh. She's like, come. Come. Coco. And then she's calling Coco. Come. Coco. She's looking for Coco. Where's Coco? Coco. But you see how she's walking like that, by the way? She used to do this all the time. Walk with her hands like behind her back like that. And my husband used to laugh at her in particular because he says it's so funny because his dad does that where he used to. He's obviously passed away now, but he used to walk with his hands. So when his dad came and saw her walking, because she came right after her first birthday, and she wasn't fully walking by her first birthday, like she was kind of still trying to pull up and whatever. So I think she started walking like around 13, 14 months, like right after her birthday. And when he saw her walking like that with like her, she would always do that. He was like, oh, that's kind of funny and looks awfully familiar. Hold on, let me try and find the other one with her and the candy, because the way that kids think, it's just, to me, it's so interesting. And, even at a very, very young age, this kind of ties into, we've been talking about, raising our children and how do we get it right and all this kind of stuff. There's no manual per se, although I think we need to find a manual because there've been a lot of people who've written a lot of expert things about it, and we could do so much more. I feel like than we are doing, but kids will say the darndest things, and they will try you in different ways, and it's like they're trying to figure out the boundaries. So even at 2 years old, at 1 year old, they're trying to figure out how things go and where you stand. And I find that one of the issues and observations that I've made is that honestly, we lack a degree of consistency. So we're just not getting it right from that perspective. We got to do better. And it's hard. I'll be the first to admit that, sometimes you just want to give in Like they're testing your patience, and you know they're not supposed to have it, and you know they're not supposed to do this, whatever. And you're like, well, tomorrow's another day. And that's kind of like your attitude sometimes. I feel like we're like, well, we'll get there. And so I think that we have to be very, very cognizant of the messages that we are sending to our children when we let them get away with stuff, even at a very, very young age. And I do feel like our biggest mistake is lack of consistency. We just don't get it right. Let me see if I can find this video of her, because this is so. I was watching it on Saturday, and I got to tell you, it really made me laugh, because I was like, kids. This one was in the kitchen. Oh gosh, where is it now? If I don't find it today, I promise I'll find it. But like every single day, getting your kids to remember their manners. Like people always say, oh, she's so well-mannered. And I think to myself, if they know how many times I've had to say thank you and please, like over and over again, like you feel like you're a broken record. I've said it 1,000,000 times, and not just saying it to her, but remembering that even in my own discourse with people in the family, that I need to be saying it. Because, when you're trying to hurry up and do something, you're like, husband, just hand me this or whatever. And your children are sitting there looking at you like, oh, but mommy, you didn't say thank you and please. So even now, I catch her kind of slipping up and not saying thank you and please. And I stop her. I'm like, hey, thank you. Or yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Because, she's like, mommy, can you hand me that pen? What did you just say? How did you say it? And then she catches herself. Oh, please. Yes. And you just have to be consistent with that. And I find that, we probably do kind of a half, job at it. So the lack of consistency, I think, is problematic for us. Trying to find this video with her. And so she has a sweet tooth. I'm trying to break it. That is totally my fault. I'm going to take full responsibility for the sweet tooth situation. I have a sweet tooth, and I've always got sweeties around the place. And of course, it doesn't take much to get a sweet tooth, because sweets and sugars are so addictive and so not good for us, right? That unfortunately, your body is inclined towards that in any event. So that's why we've got to really, do our part and try to break that cycle. Oh man, I'm trying to find that video. I know I saw it this weekend. But our children are a product of the environment. And so yesterday we saw 2 more fights that emerged. The Burger King one we mentioned during the morning show. And then there was another one at CIFEC. So it's not just John Gray. I mean, I think John Gray is getting the brunt of it, because it seems like most of the things are happening there. But let me be very clear. The issue isn't the school. The issue is the homes, right? So I don't want school administrators and teachers to think that I'm sitting here unfairly blaming them, because I am more than aware and more than cognizant of where the issue really lies. And it starts in our homes. It starts in our households. And so, that's where it's at. Where on earth is that video? So that being the case, I think that we all have got to do a much better job at trying to help our children. It's challenging though, because when they're teenagers, I don't want to, let me see if this is the one that I'm looking for. I don't think this is it. This is her doing something else with Coco. Start talking about something spicy. So I think that our, if we admit that our children are a product of their environment, and now they're teenagers, I don't want to say that it's too late, but undoing 12, 13 years of learning bad behavior is not going to be easy. right? Now we're talking about having to do remediation. That's totally different than, and a lot harder, I should add, than trying to grow a tree. You know, when the bushes are ready, the trees are already out of control. How do you bend it back into position? Sometimes you literally have to cut it all the way down and start all over. Now, with children, that's not so easy to do. So I was thinking about this between yesterday and today. And, you know, one of the things I say on this program, unfortunately, is that we don't have any, you know, like when DES, Department of Education Services, and the school sends out, okay, we're going to be working on this. I keep saying to you guys, I don't hear anything concrete that they're going to be doing. And for me, that's a problem. And so I was holding myself to that same standard yesterday when I was thinking about the situation and thinking about how I can be part of the solution. Because the easiest thing in the world to do, folks, is to sit down and talk. Trust me. Well, I wouldn't say the easiest thing in the world is talk, but it's easier to talk than actually doing. And I'm very, very cognizant of the fact that I'm not here just to be a talker, okay? I'm here to be part of the solution. So my mind was in overthinking mode yesterday. And I was saying to myself, Sandy, what would you do? Like, what is it that we as a community actually need to do? We've identified some of the issues. We've talked about it. Now, where is the concrete solutions? You know, I have advocated, please rethink actually, you know, using corporal punishment. But have I ever said to anybody what you do instead of corporal punishment? I've just said, don't do it. But you're probably sitting here thinking, well, Sandy, okay, I'm not going to beat my kid, but what am I going to do? And so the same applies, the same rule that I'm putting out there for DES, the minister, the schools, and the ministry. Give us concrete details. I need to hold myself to that exact same standard, accountability. And so I was thinking about it. And I said, you know what you need to do, Sandy? This is me in my head now, having this conversation. You need to bring on some experts on your show. Try to find them from all over the world. You know, with the technology that we have, it doesn't matter where they're located. Find some parenting experts to bring on the program that can give your audience some concrete information on what it is that they need to do to really help their children. Yeah. And I said, okay, that's not a bad idea. Having this internal dialogue in my head, I'm like, yeah, that's not a bad idea. Let me see how I can make that work. So I'm working on it. I've reached out to Kevin. We're going to pull our resources together. Someone must have been thinking along the same lines as me, because they actually sent me, and I'm so grateful for this. They sent me the Yolanda Ford report, which I have already, and we've talked about on this program. But guess what they did? Even one better. They sent me Yolanda Ford's contact information and said, have her on your show. I'm like, yes, I'm going to reach out and hope that she's willing to come on and talk about her findings. They're pretty clear, though. And remember what she said in her report? The homes, the family environment is our number one problem. My goodness. So, the other thing that occurred to me, right, when it comes to corporal punishment or thinking about it and discipline in general, it's like as parents, we only think about how to discipline or interact with our children when they've done something wrong. And I think that this is where we're also making some pretty big mistakes, and we have really not understood the assignment. Raising good children isn't about just disciplining your children. It is about positive reinforcement for when they get it right. Did y'all hear me? I'm going to say that one more time. Disciplining your children is not just the only time you speak to them, you address them, or you have conversations about what your expectations are, is when they have gotten it wrong, when they've done something wrong. You need to be equally or even more vigilant about enforcing and reinforcing good behavior. So every time your children get it right and they do something right? Rewards. Rewards can just be a hug. It can be a word of encouragement. It can be a thank you. It can be praise. You've done such a good job. When you talk about, how was your day at school, right? Don't just address if they had a little moment because they spent, I don't know how much hours do they spend at school? Say 5-6 hours or whatever. Okay? And they get something wrong. Don't just address that, because remember, that was like 2 minutes out of their day. The rest of the day, they were well behaved. They were paying attention in class. Praise that good behavior as well. So, I was really thinking hard on all of this stuff. And I was even contemplating, many of you will be familiar with this concept of love languages, right? And, we talk about adults. What is, your love language as an adult? Well, have you ever asked the question and thought about what is your child's love language? So we're not talking about romantic love, just parent and child, right? But, when you say to me, oh, well, all children are different. I'm like, yeah, they are. But if we've taken the time, I want you to follow my thinking about this. When I was walking Zeus, I was really in deep in thought about this. And I said, you can imagine, right? We've taken the time to explore and think about, as adults, what our love language is. In other words, how do people show us that they care about us? Because everybody's different. Some people need verbal affirmation. Some people need physical affirmations, a hug and whatever. How many of you have ever thought about your children in that same way? Because you say, oh, they're different. That's the first step. But how are they different? What is their love language? What do they like? Right? So I noticed, for example, that my daughter really sometimes just needs a hug to help her with her confidence. Right? She needs positive words of encouragement as well. So you've got to figure out, what is the love language for your children? How do they need positive reinforcement? How are they most receptive to that? And then you use that to help to mold them and to raise really, really good children. So we're gonna break it down, because somebody else was saying to me yesterday, a few parents were like, Sandy, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Our children, they're very, very concerned. It's so complicated on the one hand and yet so simple on the other hand. But we need some expert help, I feel like, at this stage. So someone was saying that we need to be protesting because they think the minister is sitting back and doing absolutely nothing. She's not talking to the people. She's not having a conversation. They're very, very disappointed. They're like, can you start a protest? I'm not. Listen, the minister is on her way out. I mean, I hate to ask the question, how much more damage can be done in 2 years with her at the lead? But, she's on her way out. And of course, if I focus on her, then, she gets all up in her feelings and people think this is political, and it has nothing to do with politics. It has everything to do with trying to save our children. So I think my efforts might be better spent trying to find productive ways to assist parents and to help children as much as we can in this community. But if y'all keep electing leaders who just are not up for the job, I hate to tell you, but the end result will probably always very much be the same. We need more comprehensive courses available to these parents. Like right now, we should be calling in some experts who can help from a remediation perspective to help these parents try to pull it together. And I don't feel like, unfortunately, that's being done. You know, it's very, very unfortunate. So we're going to try to do our part. I'm going to try to do my part. You know, we need to have these discussions. You know, everybody's like, well, you know, back in my day, yeah, these fights were going on. Somebody actually said it very tongue in cheek, like, oh yeah, I see you guys always commenting about, well, where's the good old days? Like whenever there's a shooting or something, y'all say, well, where's the good old days when we used to just fight with our cuffs and whatever. And to the person's point, they're like, here you go. These are the good old days now. So what are y'all complaining about? And I reflected on them being very tongue in cheek, but I also reflected on the fact that they got a point here. Why do we say that? Because we're a community that's filled to the brim with violence. When there's a shooting, why do we say, well, you know, why, remember the good old days when we used to just beat each other up with our fists and just fight in school? You don't think your children are listening to that discourse? You don't think that they see those comments on social media coming from adults? And undoubtedly thinking, oh, well, there you go. We're not stabbing each other yet. We're not, you know, shooting each other yet. So surely it's okay if we just pull on each other's hair and punch each other and beat each other up that way, because their parents have said it. They're on social media commenting, well, why don't these young people stop shooting up the place and just fight the good old... Why do we say that at all? Well, the reason why we say it is because deep down in our subconscious, we have to be honest with the fact that we, unfortunately, have really, really created and have lived in environments full of violence for a very, very long time. And so here we are, reaping what we have sowed for a long time. And a lot of us do not even recognize that that is what we're doing. 93626 is the telephone number. I'm still scouring, trying to find that video, and I can't put my hands on it, but I'll find it later on. It's just such a cute video. So, you know, unfortunately, folks, it is what it is. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Morning.
Morning, Denny.
I just want to make one quick comment. I know that you know this because you went to law school, but the human rights that we have are vertical rights, and therefore you should be apologizing for having a political opinion because it's protected speech in relation to the minister.
I should be apologizing for protecting.
No, you should not be apologizing.
I was trying to process that for a second there. I was like, huh?
Because it's protected speech.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I don't really apologize for much, and maybe that came across the wrong way. I'm not apologizing for anything. You know, what I'm saying is there will be some people who will not see the bigger picture here and will buy into this thing that this is about politics. And that maybe
there'll always be somebody who will not understand and some who will not care to understand. Right? That's just the way it is.
That's true.
Take care.
Appreciate it, Denny. Can't argue with that. He's absolutely right. He's absolutely 1000% correct. Let me read some of your comments coming in on the WhatsApp. So this person says, you posted it on your Facebook page, Sandy Hill, 5 days ago. You can screen share it again from there. Oh, that's where I saw it. Duh. Thank you. I was thinking, did I see it on the... You're right. That's where it was. It wasn't on my cleanup because it was probably on Saturday that I was cleaning up and then saw it on Facebook. Child, my poor little brain. Thank you, T. Appreciate it. This person says, morning, Sandy. I think when your child gets involved in a fight, then it should be mandatory that both the child and parent get counseling and training. Yes. Hallelujah. We also need to really talk about accountability in terms of the parents. Couldn't agree with you more. It's time to hold parents responsible for this too. You're responsible for your kids. Yes, it was on my Facebook page. Hold on, I'm gonna. Oh yes, here it is, honey gel. This is so funny. All right, let me grab the links. Hold on. Okay, let me see if I can download this. Mhm. So yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I think that we, without a doubt, need to do more of that, right? It is tough. It's really, really tough because on the one hand, we have to accept that we have actually, I don't want to use the word failure. Can I not use the word failure? I'm not going to say that we failed, but we have failed. But failure doesn't mean that it's done. You know what I'm saying? So we can still recover from this. Failure does not mean that, there's nothing more to be said or to be done about a situation. And so when I use the term failure, I also don't want you to think that that means that there's no hope. Very much so. We can recover from this. I had someone yesterday from the UK saying to me, Sandy, I remember when the UK was going through stuff like this. And you know where it then went? It went to the knife fights. It went to the stabbings in the streets. And they might not have the high degree of gun violence that they do in the US, for example, but they have the equivalent of it with guns and other types of murders and so on, with knives, my apologies, and other types of murders, gangs with young people. And they said, but they remember when it was like this. It was like there was almost a moment in time when you could feel it was palpable in the air when there was a shift with our young people all of a sudden acting out. And I thought, when they said that to me yesterday, I said, well, there has to be a way to intervene and turn this around. Are you telling me that no country in the world has been successful at saving their young people and turning around this type of a situation? I believe if anybody can do it, it's us, given our size of the population. We need to rein it in, and we need to rein it in now. But it's going to take some massive steps in order to do so. Before I read your comments, let me indulge as a mother this morning. Look at this. This is the video with Gigi talking about there's candy in that drawer. And I was like, Here she is, my kid. There's candy. I must move these candies. Because I was trying to hide the candies from her and I put it in the drawer, but all of a sudden she started to get taller. And then she's like, Okay, so there's candy. These candies?
They're not good for me.
They're not good for me.
Why are you going and taking them out?
But
I'm gonna get cavities.
You are
gonna get cavities, but why are you taking the candy out?
Yes.
But I want some more.
I'm
trying to get it.
Yeah. She wants more. She's trying to get it. She already knows. I can't remember how old she was. She's probably 2019. She was probably over 2, I guess, at this point, maybe. And she's like, I'm going to get cavities. Because I've been telling her this from day one. We don't eat sweets because it's not good for you. You get cavities. It's not. And in her little brain, she's like, yeah, I'm going to get cavities, but I want more chocolate. I want more candy. At that age, they're still like not quite fully, yep, cavities, but I still want the chocolate. So, she's still like processing it and thinking about it. Right. And this is where you got to be talking to your kids like, I know you want the chocolate. I want chocolate too, but I can't have it every time I want it.
I'm trying to get it.
See, she says, I'm trying to get it. She admits.
We must hide the candy then. Yeah, hide the candy.
Yeah, she said, I must hide.
Get them. Coco's a naughty dog.
Now look at how she deflects on the poor dog. All of a sudden, we're having a conversation about her. And this is so indicative of kids, right? About her behavior. All of a sudden, she's like, yes, hide it. Hide it from Coco because Coco's a naughty dog. I'm like, it's not Coco opening up the candy drawer. Coco doesn't know how to get to the chocolate. Although if she did, she probably would too. But I'm like, no, this ain't got nothing to do with Coco.
Coco's a naughty dog.
Mm-hmm.
Coco's eating candy.
Yes.
Oh, really?
But Coco eaten her toys.
Yeah, but toy isn't a candy.
She's eating her
I don't see
toys. I'm like,
Coco
toys are
coming
not
in here
candy.
and eating these things.
No.
No,
Coco go. The candy's got to make her sick.
Uh-huh.
You're gonna get her to the medication doctor.
Yes.
yes, but Coco can't reach the candy, but
Uh-huh.
Here you go.
apparently you can
Pick them
reach.
up here.
Uh-huh.
Quickly.
Quickly.
The monster not gonna get them.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I must
Pick them
hide,
up here.
Yeah, look.
Jana,
Hmm?
I must hide the candy from you.
Yes. Hide the
Yeah.
candy.
Yes, I must hide the candy from her. Look at her taking it out the drawer.
This is hiding.
Yeah, this is
That's
hiding.
it, but you can still reach it there if I put it there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
No, that's not really hiding it then.
We take all of the candy there.
Take all the
None
candy.
of candy drop.
Uh-huh.
That is
She's licking a lollipop, by the way.
in your mouth.
She's still thinking about other candy.
Why?
Why is candy in your hand?
But I got some last weekend.
Uh-huh.
Some last weekend. And who put them in the drawer?
That must have been the Halloween haul because I don't buy that type of candy. Mm-hmm.
I think it was Daddy, because he should
Yeah,
know that you
Daddy
were
put 'em
not
in that
tall
drawer.
enough
No.
to reach the drawers.
Uh-huh.
But my daddy not tall. And my daddy's tall. And you're tall.
I'm tall?
Yes. Like the candy you're picking up this.
Yeah, but Mommy's not eating this candy, baby.
No. I'm gonna get carrots and get sick.
Uh-huh.
Okay, Mommy will take care of it.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for telling me, coming to me with a popsicle in your hand,
Mm-hmm.
and telling me that I must hide the candy.
Yeah, hide the candy.
Okay. All right.
Oh my gosh.
Candy.
Hide the candy
Somewhere.
Yeah.
somewhere.
I'll hide it somewhere.
So I had to thank her because, of course, she was being tempted by the candy was the real problem. And then she discovered it was in that drawer. So she's like, hide the candy, mommy, hide the candy. And so as you can see in that moment, I was like, I see what's going on here. Now she knows where the candy is. You know, even that young, their little brains are like working. So I was like, thank you for telling me. Thank you for suggesting I should hide the candy because I know the temptation is real, girl. I don't eat that kind of candy, but if the right kind of candy is around here, I want candy too. So I had to say, thank you, Gigi, for telling me to hide the candy. And I hear her saying she knows that it's not good for her. It's going to make her sick. It's going to give her cavities. Right? You know how she knows that before she's even like, I guess she might have been 2, because I told her a million times, candy is not good for you. Chocolate is not good for you. It gives you cavities. Right? So it's a constant reinforcing of messages. You can't tell your child something once and think they're going to get it. Good morning, caller. Hello.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Yeah, I hope you can hear me. I'm talking to the car speaker thing here.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, Sandy. That's a good way of teaching your kids. At least we can still do that these days in Cayman, because you know I often refer to them as the globalist criminals. It's not going to be long before that becomes a crime.
What's going to become a crime?
No, I said you know, anything good, the globalist criminals they make it become not in our favor. So I'm saying it's a good thing. I was listening to you with your kids, because I'm listening on the radio. But I was listening to you with how you're interacting with the kids, and it's so nice, you know, because even me myself, I didn't give a lot of sweets to my kids growing up, because I paid the price with it, with parents that had limited, stuff when it comes to that, those knowledge.
Mm.
But nevertheless, I admire how you discipline your kids, how you use those little things.
Mm.
I was watching the other day on what is formerly known as California. I was watching how a parent was apparently it's illegal now if your child, and I'm not here to judge, but I think parents at the end of the day, parents have all rights in the say of their children.
Mm-hmm.
But there was this child, and I think the little kid, 6 or 7, was thinking that they're the opposite of what they were born. So the parents were saying, at least, let me counsel them, let me explain to them. When they get older, they can make certain decisions, this and that. That is now a law. You can't do that. So I'm saying, thank God we still have that privilege. And I think even if Cayman was to become so radical like that, our so-called owners would override anything that probably not in the best interest of us, because we've seen that over and over. But I just want to say, good job on that video. It was interesting to hear your kids say that, hide the candy from her. But looking forward to listening to more of your show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, and I mean, I think the point really that I'm trying to make, I know the cuteness factor, right? When they're that age and they're talking, you're always like, oh, they're so cute. But it's the lessons, and the lessons don't start when they are 10, 11, 12. It starts from day one. So I was saying to someone yesterday, they're like, oh, but your daughter's so well behaved and so well mannered. I'm like, I mean, all children have their moments. And, I think all children are well behaved and well mannered up to a point. But every child, they're growing. They're not adults. They don't come into this world knowing everything and understanding everything. So we have to give them a lot of grace, especially when they're younger and they just don't know any better. But the grace does not mean that you don't correct your child. In gentle correction, this is where I really want us to start thinking a bit more. And being consistent is the most important thing that you can do. So, we've all had those moments when children don't want to eat their vegetables. I remember one time she had I don't even know if it was the vegetables that set her off. There was something. I was feeding her, and she was just not having it. And she started crying and she started going on. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, what do I do when a child is having like a real meltdown? Like she even bit her was it her lip or her tongue? She was having, when I say one of those epic, like crying and just wanting to throw everything. And I remember in the moment thinking, what do I do? Now, you see, if that was me 10, 15, 20 years ago, having a child in my 20s, I probably would have slapped that baby. Don't do that, right? That's what we're taught. That's how I was raised. Y'all talking about, again, this concept of don't spare the rod and spoil the child. And I encourage you to think now that has nothing to do with corporal punishment. Why would you need to hit a baby with any degree of force? Why would you have to hit a baby at all? And so I looked at her, and when you're there by yourself, we didn't have no helpers around here forever with my child. In fact, we decided to put her in daycare as opposed to having a helper sit home with her all day, because in the end, I didn't think that was going to be terribly beneficial to her. And she probably wasn't going to learn as much as she needed to learn. Being an only child, she needed to be socialized around other children, learn some social skills. And you don't get that being around just one person. And then, the helper's sitting down, rubbing her back, making her sleep all day while she's watching soap operas. So I said, I looked at her and I said, okay. I said, Gigi, I'm going to give you a minute. I know you're upset. Obviously, you're throwing a tantrum that is like epic. She's only had like one or two of those in her life, but this one was definitely epic. And I said, I'm going to give you a minute, honey child, because you know what? Some days I feel like throwing a tantrum myself. And I'm 40-something at the time. I was 40-something years old. I'm like, Gigi, I understand. Mommy understands how you feel. I can't remember what it was about now. But the feeling, don't you want to throw a tantrum some days? Shoot, I threw one on Instagram the other day. Y'all saw it and y'all were like, oh my God, Sandy, are you okay? Yep. We're all human. I threw my tantrum, got over it very quickly, and I'm like, okay, let's just keep it moving. I'm an adult now with some 50 years of living, and I still occasionally have to throw a tantrum. It's a different kind of tantrum. It might get very colorful with the words, right? I get upset. The tears start to flow. Same way, the poor baby's crying, and give children a moment. Go ahead. Throw the tantrum. And then when you're done, we're going to talk about it. Now, obviously, you're only a year old, 11 months, whatever. Not much talking is going to happen. But I'm going to say, oh, mommy loves you. Let mommy give you a hug. After the tantrum, let mommy give you a hug. You okay? All right. We can try those peas again. You have to have a lot of patience with children. And I reckon that's why I only have one. Because I can't be having no 5 children and think that I'm going to have that kind of patience now. That's why I tell y'all, think about these things. Think about your child rearing. Like if you're not the most patient person in the world, and yes, you want to have kids. There's a celebrity recently, I forget what his name is, Seth something or another, says he's not even having kids. Him and his wife have decided they're not going to have any children because they make your life miserable and they don't want any. And you know what? He's not wrong. Because the research actually shows that most parents are not particularly happy when they have kids. They may bring moments of happiness, but the couples are happy. The couples who can go out there traveling and living their best life. But thank God we still are having children to keep the human race going for a little bit longer. But think hard on whether or not you need to have 4 or 5 children, not just if you can afford them, but if you have the temperament to be able to raise 4 or 5 children and what you can put into each child. So I decided this was a child I tried for over a year and a half, going into 2 years. I was ready. And so every time she would have a moment or she would get upset, I said, remember who decided to have who around here? You decided to have this child. So you better dig deep, take a deep breath and find the grace. Give her a moment. She wants to have a tantrum. Now, sometimes as you got older, that tantrum meant you had to go in the corner, and nobody wants to go in the corner and sit down by themselves. Although Coco used to go sit with her because Coco was such a sweet dog. Coco's like, you're not going to sit in the corner by yourself. I'm coming too. But then, they learn early on that your behavior has consequences. So not every time you can throw a tantrum, there will be no consequences. And in fact, if I don't know what this tantrum is really all about, you got to help me understand. And I would say, tell mommy what's wrong. But they're not able to communicate yet, right? Something's going on in that baby's head and we don't always get it. I was so glad that I taught her a few words in sign language. So before she could speak, and she actually started saying like proper words at about 7 months. It wasn't like, she stood up one day and just said Coco like very fluently because we were always calling Coco's name. But, she could use some sign language to communicate what she wanted. So she knew milk, she knew water, she knew daddy and mommy, she knew bath, so when it was like bath time, we would use a symbol and tell her bath time. And she'd be like, yeah, bath time. When she wanted milk, she's like, I want milk. And she couldn't say that. And I thought to myself, imagine that kids in their head, they know what they want. And we're trying to, as babies, figure it out. The first couple of days, it might be easy. The first couple of months, like you just feeding them, burping them, changing the diaper. But as they get older, sometimes they're hungry before we're ready to feed them. And they can't say, hey, can you please give me some milk? I'm hungry. I need food. But they understand what you're saying. And although they can't communicate, just something as simple as teaching them sign language. So they can just say something simple like, yeah, I want milk. The tools are there, folks, for us to do better. We just need to know what those tools are and how to utilize those tools. Miss Sue says they make me laugh at this age, what they say and what they come up with next. Oh yeah, they would come up with some epic stuff, trust me. Oh, this is Animal House calling. We got an appointment today. Hello, good morning. Hello. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. Okay, thank you. Okay. Uh-huh. Okay, no problem. Okay, thank you too. Bye-bye. All right. Chad, Zeus has to get all groomed up. Okay, so Alejandro, good morning, says, don't worry, Sandy. Y'all understand soon. Don't make up your face. You understand about what? Don't confuse yourself. Okay, I think I might be lost about that one. Rosia's laughing at Gigi. She says the eyebrow expression, Gigi. Siobhan says, of course, the lessons are important. Good morning to Everton. They're well-mannered if you instill it in them. Yeah, I mean, nobody learns to just automatically come out being well-mannered, right? You know, it's something that you have to be taught. And then I figure too, when we really think about what's going on now with our children, the truth of the matter is some of us haven't evolved at all. So how are we going to teach our children lessons that we ourselves haven't really been taught? I need that one to be asked and answered. Look at some of these parents. They're just as bad, if not worse than the children. You know, and they're adults. So where do you think these children learn to fight and go on like that? You honestly believe that these children who are fighting at John Grace, CIFEC, wherever it is, on the streets, Burger King, wherever, that they're well-behaved and well-mannered children at home, and that they're not fighting with siblings and who else, I don't know who else they're beating up like that. Hopefully they're not doing that to any adults in their home. But you don't think that that's what's going on in their homes as well? I would find that very difficult to believe. They're learning that behavior from somewhere, right? They're learning the attitudes from somewhere. These are not people who are growing up in homes that are being managed properly with love and discipline. They might be being beat. I bet you the majority of them are being subjected to corporal punishment. And that's not ironic. That is to be expected, because I say it and I say it and I say it again. Violence begets violence. It's the same reason why people who are victims of child sexual abuse oftentimes end up becoming perpetrators. On some level, you're like, it's not even logical that you were a victim. Why would you put somebody, you know how that damaged you, you know what that did to you. Why would you do that to somebody else? Because violence begets violence. It's almost like human beings, without proper intervention and professional help, don't understand and don't know how to break the cycle of violence. When you have been exposed to it, and trust me when I tell you, as a people, Caribbean people, we need to look at our history. Go way back, yeah, into the days of slavery, and you will get what I'm telling you. We were subjected to severe violence, psychological, emotional, everything. And it wasn't that long ago. The 40s, 50s, and 60s, they were still lynching your people. Our people. Violence begets violence. That's what we knew. That's how we were brought up. Our DNA has changed, right? Our mitochondrial DNA has changed because of the violence that we have gone through as a people. And so you want to tell me that that's not going to end up showing some results? This is not a matter of opinion, folks. It is proven that trauma, which is a subset, violence and trauma go hand in hand, changes the DNA of the people who went through it. Now, you think and you ruminate on that for a minute, and you'll understand what that means is that an entire people, just because of the color of your skin, were subjected to unbelievable violence for multiple generations, hundreds upon hundreds of years. And they're not the only people, let me be very, very clear. But in terms of history, they are the most recent. And so when you look at some of the implications of that, you can understand the terminology in the phrase that violence begets violence. We have to make a conscious effort to change that narrative. And you don't change it by beating your children even more. You change it by demonstrating and finding and showing love to your children. Some of you laughing about Coco going in the corner too. Oh, Coco is such an amazing dog. Ingrid says, yes, you're the person that decided to have a child. Be prepared to bring him or her up the right way from the beginning. Don't give up. Never give up when they grew up as an adult. And, you've got to definitely, stick with your children, but not when they're doing wrong. You have to, even as an adult, say, hey, no. Can't agree with these decisions. Strong Will says, good morning, Sandy. I could listen to her all day. I know. We used to have some conversations, and we still do. She still tells me and says the most amazing things. All right. Siobhan says, just because the parents decided to have them, some parents aren't meant to be parents. Just because they can have them doesn't mean that they should. You have really disgusting parents who out there in the world. And, again, I was watching an interview yesterday. It was so sad. This young lady was talking about abuse that she endured, and she got pregnant at 12, and she didn't even know what that meant because she was being abused. And she didn't even know. She's like, they asked her if she's pregnant. She's like, no, because she didn't even know what that meant. So when she first started having her cycle at 10, which is actually quite early, and, again, when you're around adults who don't know any better, man, it's so sad. Because for a child to start her menstrual cycle at 10, you will want to, as a parent, ask some questions because that is pretty early. Now, it could be hormonal things that's going on, but do you know that when children are being molested and abused, their body actually develops faster? So this is a reason why you see some preteens, 8, 9 years old, already starting to have breasts and all this kind of stuff, because their body responds to the abuse. It's a very unusual physiological response. But your body actually matures quicker because you are sexually active and you are being abused. So when a 10-year-old starts their cycle, you need to ask some questions. Now, there could be another explanation, but the fact that no one around her even knew that, I'm sure, or even asked the question, she actually was subjected to different and varying forms of abuse by 16 people. And she didn't start to come to terms with it until she was like in her 30s. And she said she started to write this down in a journal, and all the people, she said some of them, she could not even remember their names, but she had a description of who they were and what they did to her. 16 people. Nobody was protecting her. So at the age of 12, she became pregnant for a cousin. And they were like, are you pregnant? She said she didn't even know what that meant, because when she started her cycle at 10, her grandmother's like, okay, this is what you do. She didn't explain to her what that meant for her as a young girl, and that she could even become pregnant. Nobody talked to her about abuse. No one talked about the birds and the bees, nothing. It's so shocking, right? A lot of parents and grandparents are ill-equipped to really raise children. Like, they grew up a particular way. Maybe they were abused and, they now turn a blind eye to it. They don't understand the implications of it at all. They don't even know what to look for. They don't care to look for the signs. Good morning, caller.
Yeah, morning, Sandy.
Morning.
That reminds me what you're talking about now, of a conversation me and a friend had about Christopher Columbus. For example, Christopher Columbus, when he was exploring in his good old days, and he used to trick the tribes that he used to encounter with to give them all their resources and threaten that if they don't do such a thing, there is going to be a phenomenon that's going to happen. And so happened, and the tribes were intimidated by that knowledge. And it reminds me when I was going to school, religious education, when it was talking about raptures and stuff like this. I mean, not saying intimidation, but at least a little bit of awareness and education could carry people a long way. So I just remember my little food for thought.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, and this is why, is so important, folks, for us to share information. I don't believe in hiding knowledge. When they get to know a little bit of something, they're like, oh yeah, don't tell nobody else, don't share. I'm like, no. Information is there to be shared. And that's how we learn, right? If I know something, why am I not sharing it with other people? Makes sense. Share your parenting tips. What works for you? What doesn't work for you? Lavana, good morning. She's joining us from the beautiful countryside of St. Thomas in Jamaica this morning. She says she's in vacay mode. Here's an unrelated news item. Apparently, the dive vessel came out aggressor, ran aground this morning on the reef off of Barkers. All passengers and crews are safe, and they're hoping to be able to take it off the reef safely later on this morning. Get me some pictures, honey child. Ay, what a mess. Yep. The person says, that's the result of limited sex education in schools and babies having babies. We need to do better. Talking about the second fight yesterday at CIFEC. Kevin, I don't know if Kevin's listening this morning. Can you tell me if that one had any profanity in it? I can't even remember. Let me just double check and I'll show it to you guys, because there's a couple things that's wrong with that one that I made me pause. Let me put it that way when I saw it, and I thought, Kevin, let's see. Yeah, I don't recall any profanity, but child, that kind of goes in one ear, not the other now. But it was a situation, these two girls are fighting, and the first one walks up and says something about her man and her boyfriend or something. I'm like, why y'all making these children who are already stunted their growth talk about having man? What? Say what? What kind of man y'all talking about? No boyfriends, no relationships like that. I mean, my Aunt Lottie didn't always get it right, but that's one thing I know for sure she had right. Don't even talk to me about no boyfriend or no man. This person says that the Netherlands, they have an awesome rehabilitation program Their prisons are now used to house homeless people. Well, it's not just the rehabilitation program they have a completely different mindset entirely. This person says deprivation is a good tool. They want nails, braids, phones, take it all away. The phone they should have is a little Nokia, not a smartphone. They don't fear parents. I would have been afraid of my mother getting a call from school about me fighting. Unfortunately, fighting is nothing new. Back in 91, 94, they were fighting and stabbing. You see what I'm telling you? I look at people now and think, sure, you should have seen them in school. So it's been going on since 91, 94. We haven't made any changes, obviously. I think part of the narrative as well is that we're now knowing more about the fights. I didn't go to school here. So when I was in high school in 91, 94, I was actually in university already in 94, but I graduated in 91 from high school. Back then we didn't have phones. Not at all. Not even the Nokia phone, child. You didn't have the phone because they were the big bricks, and your parents couldn't even afford them because they were still so expensive, and my aunt wouldn't have given me one anyway. So you had no one who was recording it. We're much more hyper aware of what's happening because the kids are talking about it. We're recording it. There's social media. It was being shared now quite easily amongst each other. But like that person said, it was happening back then too. 91 to 94. What year are we in now? 2023. Do the math. How many years is that? That's a long time ago. And still, education minister after education minister, no one has done anything about it. Let's not put all the blame on Juliana now. She's only been in there 2 terms. Before her, there was Tara? And before Tara was who? Ralston? What has been done? And they all know by now that it was a mistake to change and get rid of the middle school system. Now we put all these ages together. Children talking about they're 10 years old and I'm 10 and I'm in high school. To me, that's like so bizarre. I'm like, how's a 10-year-old in high school? Pat says that we're normalizing violence. I agree. Alden was education minister too. So all of these ministers for the past 25 years, as far as I'm concerned, have failed our children. And we as a community and society have failed our children. Alejandro says denial is a hell of a thing. It sure is. Siobhan says, I get what you're saying, Miss Sandy, but not everyone changes for the worse. But yes, the majority do. Well, we need to talk about the majority. I mean, the minority will always, the top 5% of kids who are excelling well academically, who are well behaved, whatever. I wouldn't say that we don't have to worry about them because they were probably raised in a really good environment with parents who cared and did their best. But, they're not where our immediate focus needs to be. It needs to be that big gap in the middle that is struggling and having problems. Magdalena, good morning, says they decimated whole tribes in North, Central, and South America. Absolutely. Miss Sue says, true, I've seen it so many times. There's a boy about 9 years old in the supermarket crying his mother to stop shouting and cursing at another woman. Disgraceful. That poor child, what he must have gone through. He should be with good foster family. So sad. So you can imagine the child is crying because she's fighting with somebody else. What a mess. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sandra.
Morning.
How are you today?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm okay too. I am blessed. Mm-hmm. We all are. But we always hear about John Gray and CIFEC and all of those schools. But make I tell you, Sandra, and I think you know this too. A lot of this stuff go on in private schools, I sometimes go to Camana Bay Fosters, and sit down there and have lunch, and sometimes even breakfast. But late lunch, I have around lunchtime, where some of the private schools that it's only lawyers and accountants and stuff that can send their children there. They are there. And make I tell you, Sandra, some of the things they're showing around, $100 bills, $50 bills, and whatnot to each other. And some of the stuff that I hear them talking about, you could write a sex education book if you sit down and you listen to them.
Let me pause you for a second there, caller. What we're actually talking about, and I understand what you're saying, is the degree of violence in our schools and fighting. Have you ever seen that at these public schools? At the private schools?
Oh yes, I went to public schools.
No. Private. My apologies. Let me say it. I just made a mistake there. You're talking about seeing these kids from CIS, prep, wherever, having hypersexual conversations, right? But do you see that? Do you see them fighting? They're not the ones.
No. But then it makes you stop and wonder.
Now, we've said on this program before, we're not saying that private schools are perfect and whatever, but the violence that we see, which is of grave concern, the over sexualization is a different conversation, but also important. We don't see that happening in the private schools. And why? What's the difference?
Well, what's the difference? Because sometimes it happens in private schools, but everybody lips are glued.
No. Let me tell you two things that's happening, right? If a fight happens in private school, somebody's probably going to get suspended and or expelled from that school. So there are consequences that those children are aware of, and so are their parents. Okay?
Yes, Sandra, I would agree on that.
When they have a policy that says no phones in the schools, they're not going to bow to the parents as the John Gray high schools have and the government schools have, but, you can't take my child's phone away for the term or for the semester. And that's what happened at John Gray when they tried to implement no phones in the schools. The private schools will have policies that they're going to stand behind. Government don't have the testicular fortitude to do it.
Well, who can we blame for that except I don't know if we can
let me tell you the other issue I have, right? We've talked about private schools on this program. And, you call a spade. So we've talked about, for example, at prep. We know that prep has some real issues with colorism, prejudices, anti-Caymanianism, both in their ranks amongst administrators and some of the students. That's a real problem at prep. And I really hope that they can get that under control. There was an incident at CIS with a teacher. Well, they fired her. You see, this is the difference. Private schools tend to have some degree more accountability. If I dare say, if this teacher was in a government school, the one who had an OnlyFans account and carrying out all kind of foolishness, she wouldn't have gotten fired by a government school. Just like they can't fire the likes of Miss Fredericks, or they're not going to fire this teacher who, for the second time in 2 consecutive years now, is on leave at Prospect Primary for assaulting somebody's child. Government cannot hold people accountable. So they're not going to fire her. They probably promote her. And that's the problem.
Exactly, Sandra. And I was going to get that.
So we can have a different and parallel conversations about private schools. But I think to be honest with you, caller, when we're talking about the abject violence and stuff in our government schools, and all of a sudden we say, private school is not perfect. This is the very same thing that I say is called deflection. We will talk about private schools. There's a time and place for them. Don't worry, they're not being left out. But to say, well, we got these serious issues over here in public schools, but, well, what about private schools? They're not having the same issues, is my point. And the vast majority of our children, of our Caymanian children, are in government schools.
Yes.
So every minute we have to focus on that issue, we should.
Yeah, Sandra, I was wondering if you know anything. Okay, Juliana and all the rest of the ministers we had, and yes, Alden was education minister. Since she is given all kinds of rules, or I guess the rest of them did too, you have to have this color shoes, black, and you have to have white socks, and you have to have this and that. And then government also gives money to some of the private schools. I'm wondering if she can say something to government, or have a rule that if it goes for the government schools, and we're helping the private schools, can she have some say about the way their uniforms is? Because I see 1, 2 of the same schools at Foster's private schools, with you wonder they got on a bathing suit or they got on a uniform.
I might have to verify whether or not government is still subsidizing private schools, because I think there was some discussion that actually that was going to go away, but I can double check. But again, caller, let me say this. How is government going to tell private schools what to do? Even with this bus system, like, they're trying to tell private schools to bus their kids. They can't even do that with government schools. The other day I was over at UCCI, and the number of private cars I saw picking up children from John Gray High School. And yet government is trying to enforce and tell private schools what they must do. They're not enforcing their own.
Not what they must do, but their uniform should be.
That's telling them what they must do. And yet at government schools, they can't even enforce their own uniform policy. Look at the young man who was in that fight last week, right? Full beard, hair looks scrappy, like I don't know what. Government needs to get their own ish together in government schools before they can go into private schools what to do. Now, I'm going to agree with you that the private school uniforms, and I'm going to tell you because my daughter has to purchase one of those uniforms and those skirts, and I've actually brought it up to the schools. I have sent an email and said these skirts are too short. But the schools that they force you to order from, or the company that they force you to order from, which is Land's End, that is how they design the skirts. Let me tell you something. As parents, we need to really do better. This is what I sent before school started this year.
Yes.
During the summer, this is what I sent to my school. I said, I first made sure I was emailing the right person to query about school uniforms. I said, I'm having an issue with the length of these skirts. I said, thank you for confirming. We, made sure I copied my husband, have an issue with the length of the official skirts that we must use. They're a bit too short for our liking. Are there any other options? Because they tell you, you have to go to this school uniform store and order these skirts. They are too short, even though underneath they're skorks. So they have a short underneath, to be fair. But in my opinion, they are still too short. And they actually informed me that, yes, you can source other uniforms and stuff. And my daughter, she didn't need any new uniforms this year, so I ain't got the money to spend on that. So we saved the money. But the next batch that I order, I will be ordering from elsewhere. And I'll be making sure that they're knee length. But unfortunately, it is the company that they're using, and the company, those come pre-designed like that. It's not that the school themselves they have a uniform store where they're making this whatever, they're using Land's End. I think it's CIS, Prep, and somebody else uses Land's End to order through their uniform system. And those shorts, I don't know who the hell designed them for Land's End, but they are designed too short.
Well, I keep that was only a thought because we subsidizing, which I still don't know. And you say you're going to try to find out.
Yeah, I'll find out because I think there's some changes made to that.
I still don't know. But for
and one of the reasons why I know there was the subsidy in place is because government simply doesn't have the space to take all the students on the island. So there is a bit of an overflow into even Caymanian children having to go to these schools as well. Now, I don't know how, let me find out. I don't know how the subsidy works and exactly what it goes towards, because the Caymanian children, as far as I know, are still paying full tuition to go to private schools. So I don't really know.
Yeah.
But I know it was
agree.
cut back.
I just thought, you see, we believe that you you know everything. So
no, but I will certainly find out.
Yes. And I agree on that. It's best to find out, but I can't believe that, or no, not I can't believe because I see it. Prep supposed to be a church school by the United Churches.
Well,
and
let's just say
like
they have an affiliation with the churches.
Oh boy, you know.
Thank you, my dear.
And the color and the color of your skin and all that's still going on.
Yes.
So
well,
you know, it makes you stop and wonder.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, thanks a lot, Sandra, and I'll be glad if you can.
I'll get some details on it.
Yes, some information whenever you can. Thanks a lot and have a good day.
I appreciate it, my dear. You too. So yes, I mean, by and large, the management at the private schools tends to be a lot better than what we see at the public schools, because like I said, both the parents and the children know that there will be consequences for bad behavior. And let me say this, as someone who has experience with some private schools, and I suspect it might be happening at some of them, maybe not all, because again, I've heard prep is not the best at conflict resolution. But I can tell you that when there's a situation, these private school teachers tend to be a little bit more trained with conflict resolution, and they will pull in the offending parties, make them apologize to each other. They, you know, when my daughter was at Montessori, they said, hey, there was a little incident today. Somebody pinched somebody hit somebody. They're on it right away. They're not letting it roll over and brew from one year to the next. They're like, no, there was a situation at school today. We handled it. A lot of times they don't tell you who the other child is, although, you know, my child is going to tell me anyway, but they're not necessarily going to tell you who the other child is, but they're going to tell you what they did, what happened. They've spoken to the parent, how it has been resolved. You know, they made each other apologize. They're teaching these kids at a very young age about their feelings. That's part of the curriculum, and how to express their feelings, how to express if they're upset or they're sad, or how to communicate those feelings. I don't think any of that is happening in government schools with any real degree of success. So from the very curriculum is completely different. Teaching children to be in tune with their feelings. That's not being done. Good morning, caller.
Yeah, boy, Sunday, what you said, boy, I'm mouthful. My God. You want to talk about fighting, you say? No. Let me open up a little Pandora's box in the fighting game that they got up in the schools right now. And it really senseless. And you think the private schools are not a problem? We can talk about that. The children in the private schools do not fight in the schools because they understand and they know their consequences. Unlike a lot of the government school kids, which don't really care, the private schools have kids in there that are thugs, and they don't do their things at school. They don't misbehave at work. When they get off of the bus or get home, they're the same ones that have their little dirt bikes in their little gated communities with the privilege to drive it around. And I'm not talking this about only assuming something. I know this. And a lot of them get involved with drugs as well. I don't know who it is, and I'm observing it at my age, 30 years old. I don't really give a damn about it. Sorry, but I don't really pay attention to these things anymore. But I understand when I see these kids fighting, it's for something way more than you can even comprehend. You see the vapes and all these things, they're signs. I just gotta have to put that out, make parents start thinking, because I don't have no teenage children.
All righty. Lena says deflecting again. I mean, honestly, deflecting again. Do we not have enough to talk about with the government schools right now? Again, the violence, which is what is of grave concern that we have in our government schools, which is what we're talking about here, is not happening in the private schools. I don't see the private school children going to Burger King or wherever it is. Maybe they don't hang out at Burger King, I don't know, but wherever it is that they hang out, they're not in. Okay, let's go with what the previous caller said. She sees them at Camana Bay Fosters. Are they in Camana Bay Fosters fighting? Talk about each other, man, this and that? No. And do not misunderstand what I'm saying. When it's necessary to call them out, we have done so. Go back, folks. I don't have no affinity towards one or the other as usual. It does not really make a difference to me. Remember when we did the story on Kathy Williams? What year was that? That was before y'all were even paying attention to what was happening in these schools. That was way back in 2020. June of 2019, in fact, was the original story. Privilege in Cayman, teen overdoses at house party. So we've been talking about that group from 2019. And you know what is so funny? Those children with their privilege tried to step to me, and I said, oh, honey child, don't do it if you smart. When we were talking about this issue, they were trying to defend this child who almost died from an overdose, creating all these fake accounts and trying to troll me and whatever. And when I put them in their place, and a few of them, I knew who their parents were based on the last name, and I contacted the parents. Let me tell you the difference. This is where y'all need to wake up. Let me show y'all the stark difference now. I'm not going to mention this woman's name, but she's works for a big company in the island, has a good job, multi-millionaire. Children only go to private school, go to CIS, in fact. During this situation, her son was one of those that was in the mix, right? Defending adults. And I always found it really peculiar that it would be necessary for any children to defend their parents, especially when the parents are in the wrong, giving access to teens, giving alcohol at a party. Anyway, that's how these kids are. Like I said, they're on social media. A lot of y'all not watching them particularly well. And so some of them reached out. And I remember one night, this particular child reached out like, I don't know, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I was up and checked my phone and I saw this message. I'm like, what the hell are these kids doing up at 3, 4 o'clock? They should be sleeping. But when I saw the name, I said, oh, I know exactly who your mom is. I didn't say this to him, but in my head, I'm like, oh, I know who your mom is. So I went on the internet. Like I said, everybody knows her in the community. She works for a big company. I looked it up, looked up her email address. I sent her an email. And I said, why is your son, so-and-so, up at 3:00 in the morning, messaging me. This is back in 2019, defending and talking about Kathy Williams and trying to defend her poor decisions as a mother and as a woman. Let me tell you the response I got. And then I'm going to, by comparison, since y'all love to deflect, we're going to compare the response from a Caymanian child and a Caymanian family and situation. That mother responded to me not long after 6:00 in the morning. So she gets up early and she said, "Thank you for your message. You will not hear from my son again." And guess what? He has never, I don't know what she did to him. I'm pretty sure she never beat him though, but he has never responded to me again. I don't even think he's ever even posted on CMR ever again. She reined him in very, very quickly. That I can respect. Let me give you another example. Right? Since we want to say white people are the problem, the private schools are the problem, this and that. Okay. That's how a private school parent, a white Caymanian, now she has, she's been here long enough, she's a Caymanian. That's how she handled the situation. Let me take the mother of Chelsea down West Bay. Let me not even mention her name. Mother of a Caymanian child living in government homes, wreaking havoc in her entire community, bullying children left, right, and center, even tried bullying me all over social media. When I reached out to her parent, you know what that response was? "You better leave my effing child alone, and this and that, and she's not the bully. Other people are bullying her, and blah, 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 blah." No accountability, cussing and carrying on. Y'all don't, you see the difference? I'm not saying that every private sector parent, every private school parent is a good parent. I'm not saying because they have money that they're good parents. But I just gave you two examples of situations being handled where your children are getting naughty on social media, they're doing foolishness, and it was handled completely different. And you don't think that that's a contributing factor to the behavior of these children? And the irony is all these private school children with this situation where this child almost died, when they tried to come at me, I put them in their places. And to this day, some of those same children will walk up to me and say, "Oh, Miss Sandy, I love your platform. Thank you so much. I didn't cut no, I'm not your companion. I'm not your friend." And I made it very, very clear to them early on. And they backed down with a degree of respect. Caymanian children not doing that. Government school children are not doing that. They think that they can fight me too. Caller, good morning.
Good morning, Miss Sandy.
How are you doing,
I
honey?
just know that this is a very lovely topic you're on this morning.
Thank you.
I just want to give my 2 cents on this conversation that we're having regarding all of the fight that is happening in school.
Yes, ma'am.
I remember when I was growing up back in Jamaica, the bigger folks always tells us it takes a village to raise a child. On my knowledge now, it don't take a village to raise a child, Miss Sandy, because the thing is, where this country or this world is going regarding parenting, it's on a different level. I remember adults could see you as a child back in the days growing up doing something on the road, and just the way how they talk to you, you would never want to repeat that again. Because when they talk to you, Miss Sandy, you don't want this to reach to your parents, Miss Sandy, because that's on a different level, Miss Sandy. So nowadays, what I see is that you cannot, if there is something, if you see kids nowadays doing something wrong, it's better you shut up your mouth.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, the way of some of those parents, some will take it as you're talking about, as you're differentiating how different parents respond to their child doing stuff. You have some parents, and maybe 80% or 75% of the parents that will respond in a positive way that reflects on their children's behavior, that regarding what they're doing outside of the home.
Yes.
And you have some of them will react positively. When you have the next 25 Miss Sandy, you don't want to hear how much string them we tell you to tie you up, rough, to see their child doing something out on the street in public or wherever and try to correct them. That is where we're going wrong. No village is not raising no child no more. When I was growing up back in Jamaica, I could not do anything on the street to let an adult see. To let that adult say, you know what, I'm going to report this to your mommy, or I'm going to report this to your girl. You would not want to hear that. You would beg that adult not to do that because of what will happen to you.
There would be
the
consequences.
That you would have to go through.
Yep.
But now, Miss Sandy, I was in Commander Bay the other day, and trust me, I tell you, I am 36 years old now, going 37 in a couple of days from now. Saturday coming is my birthday. And let me tell you something. I'm not even acting like these children. I'm not even behaving like these children, Miss Sandy. It's pure big man and big woman going to school. I went to John Gray the other day to do some business, and let me tell you something. John Gray, dress code, they need to bring that back to the table. There's no way students should be dressing in that particular manner to school. I see girl in short, Miss Sandy. Me now wear that outside of my house because of how it's short. I'm saying to myself, how these girls been at school if something should happen to them? If something falls on them, how will they bend to take it up? Because their skirt is so short, Miss Sandy. And then they're telling us those are young children going to school, pure big man and big woman. And the thing is, a lot of these teachers in school, they cannot discipline the children. They cannot talk to them because you want to talk to a children or a child, and they go home and tell the parents, and the thing that the parents utter in front of the child is basically giving the child all the upper hand to disrespect you as a big individual in school. So how are we going to fix this as a community?
Exactly.
We have to do something about it.
Yeah.
We have to. It's like we need to go back to the old days where their skirt is way down at their ankle, and then maybe they will start behaving like child. They will start behaving like young children going to school. These children are not going to school now for education. It's all about the glitter and the glamour and all these things. And I don't think that is right, because you have your good child that you're growing up at home in a particular manner, and then they are exposed to all these things that other kids are doing. That's my 2 cents, Miss Sandy. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it, my dear. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that we supposedly a couple of years ago had a big time dress code, implemented. But again, you can implement anything you want if there's no enforcement. It doesn't really matter, right? The way that child looks, who was involved in that fight, that young man. I mean, he don't even look like he should be in high school. He look like he's in university. Anyway, here's the latest fight video from yesterday. There was 2 yesterday. There was one in the morning, which we discussed already at Burger King. Again, Burger King soon ban your children from being able to go there without an adult, and then y'all gonna be up in arms about that. When Kaimana Bay decided to finally put their foot down and say no children unsupervised, right? All of a sudden, the little kids were blaming me, but that's Sandy's fault. No, the community unanimously said that they would like to be able to go to Kaimana Bay and enjoy whatever is being offered there without you hoodlums all over the place. And so the management at Kaimana Bay was listening, and they decided to enforce it. And you know why else they decided to enforce it? Because they knew. The last fight that they had there, one of the last fights, a young man was seriously injured. And his mom said it was a mistaken identity. They could have killed that boy. The day something like that happens on their watch and they didn't do enough, y'all can't sue government. You can't sue the parents that go to John Gray High School that beating up your children, assaulting them. But I bet you'd sue Kaimana Bay. So they put a stop to it. Good for them. Thank you, King. Morning. He says, Sandy, I like that look today. Appreciate it. Here's the latest fight yesterday at CIFEC. Kevin, thank you for bleeping out all the words. And listen to your children's vocabulary.
This is stupid. This is stupid.
Overman. No. There we go. There's your children. Show me what this happening at.
No, brother, what is going on, brother? Leo, and stop.
Look at him. Look at him. Over man, whip man. How old are these kids? Man? I know they need that ladder to return. She needs to come back reincarnated and show some y'all about man. Now look at the teachers for them. Okay, so this is a teacher that came, right? They look like the teacher is scared too. Here comes the teacher. Grab one, but she's not even getting it. Look at her, she's backing up. She's like, grab one. My dear child, you know, from Kingston, Jamaica. You don't know how to use your foot to break up a fight. She look like she's scared. Grab one. Stop it, girl. See? And look at him again. I don't know if that was the teacher that went and took the phone out of her pocket, but again, these children are able to walk around with phones. Of course, other children recording this. No discipline, no rules, nothing going on at these schools. Why do these kids even have schools? I mean, phones. Why do they have schools? That might be a good question. So she took out the phone out the back pocket. I think a teacher did that. And then she's like, come. Guys, Michaela, all right, behave yourself now. Come on, honey child. Stop the fighting. Come on, girls. No, they're hoodlums. Look at them pulling each other here. My God. All that weaves don't come out. Look at them rolling in the dirt. Y'all let go of my hair. The teachers look like they're not even equipped to pull them apart. They scared too. She said, grab one. You grab one. Michaela, you stop it. Y'all talking about you want pepper spray. Maybe that's where they need it. Now them teachers could have used pepper spray in both of them. What a hot mess. That's it. That's yep. Let me show you something else that is problematic in these schools. This person says, how come no one is putting the blame on the chief officer or director of education services? Children only get away with the institution or authority, with what the institution or authorities allow. I know that teacher, government not paying enough for teachers to part fights. And then they laughed. Well, they're getting paid over $5,000 a month now. So I don't know about that. That's enough to put your foot down and get in there and say, listen, all right, so let me see here now. Let me, let's see here. Let me get this copy. I want to show y'all another video here. This is out of the US, but this is indicative, folks, of part of the problem. So let me show y'all this video now. Look, yeah. So somebody posted this with a joke about CIFEC and said, yeah, this is, the kids at CIFEC and whatever, and John Gray, they're not going to be messing with this parent. So this is, let me see where it's just saved it. So this is a parent. It says, point of view, you're the mom that says hit back. So this is a little child.
To the school. Don't be letting them children put their hands on you. You understand me?
Yeah, look at this.
They hit you. You better knock they out. Now was it worth it? I worked it. I put my book down here like we rehearsed it. I said black, black. I said black, black. Cause if you hit me, I'ma hit back. And if you tell on me, yeah, I did that. I said black. I said black. You better not let them hit up.
So this is a little child. She looks like she's probably in year 1, to be honest. She don't look that old. Got on her little backpack, her little shorts and slippers. She's going to school. And the mama's out there basically saying, yeah, you're the mom that says hit back. So if these children hit you, you hit back. This is cute and it's funny, but it's not. It is indicative of the very problem that we're talking about, right? We have, made it into satire, make it into joke. children hit you, yeah, you better be ready to hit back. See what the little girl does? She fling down her backpack, and her body language is so womanish for a little 5-6-year-old child. But this is what we do with children. This is how we are force raping children. Let me play it again.
Now, when you get up to the school, don't be letting them children put their hands on you. You understand me?
They hit you, and that's the solution. They hit you, you hitting them back. No degree of resolution, of like conflict resolution, that doesn't include violence, because that's not how we as people have been raised. We are people like, oh, I got to thump you down in the streets. And so your children from day one are getting this kind of message.
You better knock that out. You better knock out. Now, was it worth it? I worked it. I put my books down here like we rehearsed it. I said, black, black.
Even this little hairstyle they have on this child is too womanish for a little 1-year-old, probably grade 1 or 2 child. But y'all don't see any of these problems, do you? I mean, I can't wrap my head around it. This person says, in all fairness, though, had I chosen a career as a teacher, I wouldn't have went to college or university to learn how to part fights. It's really not the teacher's job. Well, then tell me something. Where is the security? Where are the security guards? CIFEC don't have a security guard or 2 or 3 or 4? Somebody got part to fight. Whose job is it? We're gonna leave it up to the kids themselves. I mean, I don't understand. No, sir. So this person says, this was sent in. I think you should let Miss Sandra know that she should not make sweeping statements about any subject. Today, specifically, she's made an inaccurate statement regarding government schools versus private schools. She needs to consider the vast number, what she says, she needs to consider the vast number of differences in students. It must also be understood that government schools cannot refuse entry to a school-age child. Well, they need to change that. And unlike the private school who picks the cream of the crop, meaning the highly academic, well, best behaved, well, prep does that. We've talked about that before. And the parents of these children tend to be far more involved in their children's lives, again, often not necessarily the case of many that attend government schools. And we've talked about that. I just gave you an example of that. And that is the biggest problem. That is the biggest problem. Again, says a private school may have 10 not so well-behaved students, or government schools may have 10 times that number. Do the infraction of 10 compared to, say, 100, etc., is going to be very noticeable. Just a few things to consider before making sweeping statements. So to be clear, I think we've touched on all of those things over the course of having this discussion. I've talked about John Gray being overcrowded, capacity of 1,200, but they have over 1,300. I've talked about, in part, one of the reasons that is happening is that government workers, whether they're Caymanians or not, are entitled to send their children to the school. So we have imported teachers into this country and other government workers who then are putting their children in John Gray. Why aren't those children going to private schools? But here's the thing. Private schools are also at capacity. But unlike government schools, they're not going to allow themselves to go over capacity and not have the resources. So that is also a problem. And we have talked about it. What's government doing about it? Instead of government worrying about school buses at private schools, these are the kind of issues, the resource issues that they need to resolve within the government school system. Why the overcrowding? Bring back the middle school. That would cut the population at John Gray significantly. Subsequent education ministers, since Ralston made that fatal decision, have done nothing about it, and they know it is one of the contributing factors. I've also talked about the different response, not from every, but from a lot of these private school parents as well. There was another example, I mentioned this some time ago, where, you know, this private school kid were getting all facey with us, and we posted his faciness right on social media. The father reached out, oh, I'm going to have my lawyer contact you. And I said, go right ahead. What your lawyer going to do? And then you know what I said to him? I said, let me tell you something, sir. You should know by now I'm not afraid of no lawyer and gay man. What you should do, because I also knew that the parents were going through a divorce and the poor kid was probably all up in his feelings and having no one to really talk to. I said, what you should do, instead of talking about wasting money to go have a lawyer write me about something that I don't care about, because I'm only sharing what your son is sharing on social media. So there's no law against that. What you should do is spend that money and time and energy with your son and get him some therapy. Because the things that your son is writing and saying to me, he should not be writing and saying to any adult. You know what he did? He made his son unlock his phone so he could see the messages. Of course, he didn't believe it. I said, your son is sending me all these profane things, whatever. He went and looked and came back and apologized afterwards and said, I'm sorry, I did not know that he was sending you these types of messages and he was Snapchatting and doing this and doing that. I said, okay, now go help your son. Go fix the situation. Get him some therapy. Y'all can afford it. So, I'm not trying to make sweeping statements here. There's a lot to be unpacked, and there's a lot of differences between private and public schools. Our focus, where the majority of Caymanian children go and that are having significant problems this week, is on public schools. Like I said, since 2019, I have been talking about private schools off and on. I've talked about prep so much that they have me on their hit list, right? Their teachers have the audacity in the middle of a classroom lesson to start talking about Cayman Mall Road, this and that, to the point where one young man had to say, my so-and-so family member is really good friends with Cayman Mall Road. Then the teacher shut up. That's how much they don't like me over at prep, because we had to put them in their place. And there's more to come in prep. Y'all not gonna worry about that, because they've not been able to fix any of their problems over there either. Good morning, caller.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Enjoying my morning program.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Thank you, sir.
2019.
Mm-hmm.
I used to do driver's ed at John Gray.
Yes.
And I decided not to go back.
Uh-huh.
Because the only time I heard so much indecent language was when I was police in Jamaica. This was done by Colonel. You ever heard about Coronation Market?
Mm-hmm. I've been there once, honey child.
Well, the only time I hear so much about this was when I used to work down.
Really? Oh my gosh, what a mess.
I teach them to drive in the parking lot. And what caused the bad road is when one person wants to drive twice.
Oh, okay.
I had a little trick.
My gosh.
To cut down the bad road is, I said, okay, I'm going to let you drive twice, but your job is to check and see who drive already. So I'm going to let you drive 2 times and make sure nobody drive 2 times. So that's your payment to make sure nobody. I didn't do that. Oh, Lord. But then, guess what? I thought John
And let me
Gray
ask you a question. How long ago was that?
2019.
Okay.
But I thought John Gray could cause bad road. But when I reached Cleveland, Hunter, ooh, that's where you're bad road.
Again, they're being exposed to it all the time. So, I mean, y'all know that my mouth not join church, but I can tell you what, my daughter not hear me cursing yet because I don't curse around her. So I mean, parents, again, if that's what they're hearing in their household, the cussing, the fighting, and the carrying on, what else are they gonna do?
No, and the customer, I got baptized 1998, and no customer.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, goodbye.
Okay. 936.
I call it because I'm waiting on a student.
Okay. Thank you. 936-2626, folks, is the telephone number. Some people say that they wouldn't part it either if they were teachers, because then next thing you know, they want to beat up the teachers. What a mess. Everton says teachers need to be careful because then they want to blame them. I tell you, everybody's scared to do anything. I don't know. Anyway, we do want to talk about technology a little bit today. Miss Carrie says, Miss Sandy, did you know that the child that gave the first punches, she had a knife and that was stabbing. In that last video there, she had a knife. No, I didn't know that. I didn't see a knife in that, so I wasn't aware. What a heat. So folks, don't forget this week, I know you guys are still having some difficulty finding us on YouTube. So I keep posting it on the social media pages so that you can, see it there. That's the link. We have a backup page. Both are called Kim and Ma Road. They just have different, what's it called? Images. So one is this thing that I'm wearing today. And then the other one is the regular CMR logo. So just go and find the alternate page or look on the social media pages and we put the link there. You got to follow and like that page as well, because we're in a little bit of Facebook, YouTube jail from Monday's show. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Miss Sandy.
Hi there.
Just to let you know, that fight yesterday with John Gray with the two kids, that child that threw the first two blows, it wasn't punching, it was stabs.
That was CIFEC.
Yeah.
So that was
she had a knife in her hand.
That young lady, let me look at this again. So the one with the white backpack.
Stab. That was stab.
That was a stab. You're joking.
She got 4 stabs.
Okay. So once you hit her like that, that wasn't a punch. That was a stab. Lord Jesus. What you say?
Yep.
Lord God. And it's a knife?
Yeah.
So she stabbed the girl like that, and but the little girl's so calm after she stabbed her?
Yeah.
Jesus peace. No, sir. This is where it's at, as them Jamaicans would say, blouse and skirts. No, sir. Oh my God, I never realized that. So she has a knife in her hand.
Yes, she did.
Oh my God.
And that child was standing waiting on her father to pick her up, and that child, because the child heard from the day that she must watch her back.
Jesus peace.
So she,
wow, well, I'm sure now, hopefully she has been arrested and charged with wounding. Let's reach out to the RCIPS and see if they've made any arrests in relation to that one. Lord Jesus, what do you say? Thank you for the clarification, my dear.
Thank you, too.
Oh, my God.
And she sent threat to her on her phone that it's not finished yet.
That's what the girl who did the stabbing said.
Yes, it's not finished yet.
Wow. Wow. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you too.
Okay, dear. I am in such a state of shock. Jeez and peace. No, sir. Wow. Morning, caller.
Yes, Andy. You see what we were talking about
yes,
yesterday?
Yes.
How close is that to killing someone out of school? How close is that? Sunny, I have to ask you.
You see, she should, let me say this before you go too far, Miss Arlene. This child should be arrested and charged.
Of course.
And she should not be able to go back to CIFEC ever again. I'm sorry. Start expelling these children from schools.
Yes. And charging their parents.
Yes.
That's what it needs to be. That's what it needs to be. Simple as that.
My God.
Up here, there's a system in place that if you school, we call it, I think you get 2 strikes and you're out. Their parent is taken in and their charge, I think, is £120 per time after that too, is what I've been hearing. So they very, very like let skip school or do any foolishness like that. But another question I have, Sandy, is any, like when you go to a big supermarket and you see these big line of cameras and a monitor thing, do any of our schools have that? Is there any cameras in the schools?
Boy,
to be monitored daily?
We're supposed to have some, but I'm disappointed to hear that they never seem to be in the right place at the right time, apparently. We just finished John Gray. It's a beautiful campus. And these poor kids are destroying it already with their behavior. And I'm surprised to hear people say that the camera and the CCTV system isn't what it should be at that school. I cannot believe that. They should have an entire security room there, monitoring those cameras at all times.
Exactly what I'm saying. Exactly what I'm saying. All the locker rooms, I'm not saying restrooms, but locker rooms, areas that you know that they meet up, because obviously they can't afford to pay manpower. So just have at least a couple around and then a monitor at all times, because something's going to do. If the government can't afford it, then the PTAs are going to have to start to raise funds and get this thing done, because the next fight we see, it could be a child dead. It could be a dead child. So let's take this thing serious. I still say that we need to call out the minister. We need to call out the Minister of Education. And those parents that have their children's interests at hand need to get together and go and do what they have to do. Because I'm so sorry to say, I hate to hear the day that somebody is still there. And the easiest first thing to do, get rid of the phones. But right now, that is probably the most easiest or non-expensive thing that government could do. Get rid of the school phones and schools. Simple.
Thank you, Colin.
All right,
wow, I did not appreciate that. That was actually a stabbing. Oh my God. How weapons in school? So that y'all say the guards can't touch them. So the guards don't check backpacks. They don't do any. Let me just take a moment here to process this, folks, because this is shocking. All right. Gabby reminded me about calling the UK. Yes, Gabby. Thank you so much for the reminder. Let me find the number, because we're going to switch conversations a little bit here now. Somebody's calling me here on the private line. Good morning, caller. Are you trying to call the show? 936-2626. Yes, 2626. Okay, there, no problem. Ay, what a hot mess. No, sir. Lord Jesus, take the wheel. I don't know what to say. I am truly speechless here now. Let's take a quick commercial break here, folks. I'll be right back.
Pasko sa panahon ng tag-init? Oo, eto na naman ang panahon ng Balikbayan Box. Kumuha ng inyong mga kahon sa halagang $75 at punuin ito ng lahat ng iyong mga kalakal na papunta sa Pilipinas. Napakadali lang, kumuha ng inyong kahon, punuin ang inyong kahon at ibalik sa MBI. Ang Miracle Brokers ang bahala sa iba. Ang mga kahon ay darating sa tamang panahon para sa Pasko. Huwag mag-atubiling magmadali. Ang huling araw ay sa September 30. Tumawag sa 949-5989 or 814-244 para sa karagdagang impormasyon.
Friends, Caymanians, Whopper fans, I do declare that this king is angry. The Angry Whopper is back after 4 years. Flame grilled quarter pounder topped with melted pepper jack cheese, hot angry sauce, crispy angry onions, iceberg lettuce, jalapenos, and tomato. But that is not all. You can now get angry everything. Angry chicken, angry fish, even angry breakfast. Ask for angry at Burger King and we'll add pepper jack cheese, angry sauce, angry onions, and jalapenos to any sandwich. Angry everything is here for a limited time only, and only at Burger King.
I'm Kenneth Bryan, Minister for Tourism and Ports, and I need your help to keep our beautiful islands clean. Littering is unsightly and negatively impacts our tourism industry, which is crucial to our economy. Keeping our islands clean is everyone's responsibility, so let's all work together to keep the Cayman Islands beautiful for generations to come.
Be a part of the solution, not the pollution. Littering is a crime punishable by a $500 fine or 6 months in prison. Brought to you by the Beautification Task Force and Ministry of Tourism and Ports.
Ocean Ridge Heights offers an amazing opportunity to own a piece of land in idyllic Cayman Brac. right on the bluff, starting from $80,000. Located in a quiet residential area with high elevation, these lots are ideal for a future home or investment property and are sure to go fast. Cayman Brack offers a laid-back lifestyle, amazing pristine diving, limestone caves, diverse flora, along with amazing wildlife. Inquire about the owner financing options so that you can secure your piece of paradise today. With only a few lots remaining, these are sure to go before you know it. Contact Crichton Properties today on 345-949-5250 or info@crichtonproperties.com.
Recover Personal Injury Attorneys, helping injured people get what they deserve. Did you know that insurance companies have lawyers that represent their interests? Before signing and accepting any settlement, know your rights. Call us today for a free consultation at 924-9999. That's 924-9999. Recover. Your personal injury attorneys are on standby to assist.
All right, folks, welcome back to the program. So we are going to switch gears a little bit. Looks like Tech Thursday just went out the window. We're running out of time. But let me, Lavana, just read one quick question from Lavana. She says, when we went to school, the older kids looked out for the younger ones, especially the newcomers. We helped them to get to their classes, to lunch, etc. We guided them, not fought them. Lord, take the wheel, shaking my head. Salvin is wondering if there's any research to show between summer heat and behavioral issues, because the heat is the hottest and so are the fights. So he's wondering if there's some kind of correlation there. What a hot mess for real. I don't know. Anyway, folks, let's make a call to the UK. Give me a second here now. Oh, one more caller coming in. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Sandy. Before you do your little switch, in regards to the bullying, this is Nathina, in regards to the bullying, especially in John Gray and CIFEC, the system is failing the children. One, the security guards are not professionally trained to interact with the children. Right? Mr. Murray will soon be leaving the institution because he'll be leaving. So
which Mr. Murray?
From National Security Center. Oh, so as of when his rollover reached, John Gray going definitely go downhill. And then I personally feel bad in regards to that child that was bullied the other day and beat up in the locker room, because it reminded me of my son when he had the bullying issues to his brain shut down in Bontown Primary. And to today's date, the principal not even call and say, how is your son? Right? And now the bullying thing is really bad in John Gray, because my son still gets bullied in John Gray. And now he's very outspoken. He's so outspoken now he gets in trouble for being outspoken. And Principal Clark, you speak to Principal Clark about bullying, he has an excuse for everything. Every single thing. The only time I get results is if I tell him, say, I'm going to call our deputy governor, or I'm going to put him on Mall Road. But John Gray, Mr. OB, or I can't pronounce his name, my education department, he does a wonderful job once he's involved. But John Gray needs to be regrouped and the teachers properly trained. The training thing for the bullying needs to be implemented more. And the parents are not setting good examples for their children, because one, the short skirts, if you see how short these kids' skirts are and the conversations they're having, that's because it's the parents. At the end of the day, it's the parents. The parents are not setting good examples for their children. Right? And then when you try and want to reach out to the school when the bullying occurs, you can never speak to a parent. The only thing they want to do is give your children detention and suspension until you say, oh, the interaction, or they're going to use behavior points. That's not good enough.
Thank you, caller.
All right, thanks.
All right, my dear. We'll continue to have the conversations, but we're going to make a Another phone call here this morning. So give me 1 second now. Let me just see. So we're going to be calling the London office for the Department of Tourism. Stand by, folks, and then I'm going to explain to you why. I think I'm connected to, paired to, yes. Okay. I use my other phone to call. Oh, what time is it there? Oh, yeah, 9. I think they should still be in office.
Thank you for calling the Cayman Islands Department of Tourism. At this time, instead of leaving a message on this voicemail, please direct your inquiry via email to info-uk, that's info-uk at caymanislands.ky. Thank you.
They're not working. It's 10 o'clock. So what time would it be in the UK? They're 6 hours ahead now or 5 hours? 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock. It's 3:45 there. They will not answer. Why? They're closed already? They only work half a day, or what? Let me try them again, honey chill. London, England. They should still be working. So we have to call them like at 7 in the morning because otherwise they're not going to be working. Amanda says there's no one ever in office. Oh. Okay. So if they're never in the office, how are we going to reach them on the phone?
Thank you for calling the Cayman Islands Department of Tourism. At this time, instead of leaving a message on...
Somebody says those offices usually shut down at 3:30, but persons are in the office at work. Well, if they're at work, why don't they answer the phone? Only work till 3:30 in the UK? Is that what I'm hearing you saying? Okay. We'll try earlier tomorrow morning. We'll try earlier and see if we get an answer, honey Jill. Very bizarre, but okay. All right. I know y'all wondering, why is Sandy calling? All right. Tomorrow is Friday. So we're going to do another episode of Consumer Fridays. So we've got people owed money. One lady said over $4,000. Somebody owes her. She's going to call in. I'm going to give you guys an update as well on Tammy from last week. The good news is Tammy got her money back same day, but I'm going to tell you the twist because you'll be interested to know. So we'll get an update on some of the cases from last week. I need to reach out to see what's going on with Samuel. What's the Jamaican guy name? Samuel, whatever, to see if he ever gave that woman her deposit back and whether or not the police has reached out to that lady as well. Okay, so we'll get an update on that situation and update you guys. If you want to call and you want to feature your situation on the show, try to give me the heads up because sometimes we might just need to see a few things before you put all your business out there and give you some guidance. Okay. So that'll be Consumer Friday, which will be tomorrow. So let's talk a little bit about some of the tech changes that are happening all over the world. So of course, iPhone users will know that Apple just had their annual event. Every year, Apple does this big event and they actually, will roll out the updates like around the major update around the same time. So those of us who are iPhone users now are using iOS 7. So you have the opportunity, 17, 7, oh my God. So you're now able to update to iOS 7. But can I tell y'all a joke? There are literally things that even I consider myself relatively tech savvy, but I don't go, listen, for me, a phone is still like calls and quick messages. But these phones or smartphones, they can do so much more than that, right? And there was something that I just discovered yesterday that had me chuckling because someone sent me this link. I can't remember who it is now, but they sent me this link and I watched the video and I had to laugh to myself because I'm like, oh my God, I'm one of those people that had no idea about this iPhone feature either. Let me see if I can find the video again. I was like, no. I've been using an iPhone since Blackberries. Like I went from Blackberry to iPhone. I've tried an Android phone. I'm sorry, I just can't get into Android phones. Ugh, I've tried. God knows I've tried. Even the way that their keyword, it's just, ugh. I think once you get used to the iPhone, you can't go back to anything else. So I have tried and I just can't wrap my head around. And you know what else I like is with an iPhone, like when you say I wanted to get the new iPhone, everything, boom, you set up your phone, it's all there. Like it's no like, oh, how do I bring over my emails? How do I do this? iPhone makes it easy. Their interface is just like simple. Android, not so much so. Okay, let me see if I can find this thing. Someone shared this with you guys. This is so funny. I was like, I clearly don't know nothing about my own phone. And mind you, I know more than a lot of people, but still, I don't know a lot. We got to just admit. Let me find my activities, and then I'm going to show you. Where's the activities section in? Oh Lord, they're forever changing stuff on these. So this was it was a TikTok video actually that somebody sent me. Hold on. I'm going to find this and then I'm going to share it with you guys because I honestly had no idea. I'm like, wait a minute. That can work? There's just so many amazing things that you can do. Oh Lord. Someone sent me a video yesterday with this poor woman beating this poor baby and stuff. I can't listen. I can't. My brain cannot process those types of abuses against children. And then we wonder why children grew up being violent. Oh God, some people are just so incredibly wicked. My God. Wow. Unbelievable. How do I find the TikTok video again? Who sent it to me? Does anybody remember who sent it? Resend it because of course now I can't remember who sent it to me. I'll have to find it again. But anyway, it was showing me something on an iPhone that I was like, oh my God, I did not know that. That was news to me. Did I watch it on? Oh, hold on. Hold on. Thank goodness, iPhone. I'm not gonna tell you. Easy to use, boy. All right, listen to this now. I'm going to show you all this video because I was a bit surprised by this. And I'm going to show you all. Okay. So, let me just grab this link. And then you tell me if you're an iPhone user and you knew how to do this. I want you to be honest now. Don't lie and say that you knew if you didn't really know. Because this was news to me. I was like, wait a minute. All right, hold on. So let me download it so that we can play it in the show. Okay. Okay, hold on. So downloads. Yes. Okay. So if you knew this, be honest, like I said, and tell me. If not,
fix your face. Why are you looking so mad?
Because I'm sick and tired of people hollering about their team iPhone. They screaming their team iPhone, but yet, let me give you this example. You know how somebody go to their calendar? Come in a little bit. Go out, they go to their clock. Then they might go to their calculator. And then you tell them, say, man, go back to your calendar. They do this right here. Man, if you
That
team
was me.
iPhone and you still doing this.
Yes, that was me. That's how I do it. And look what he's going to tell us now.
Go take your iPhone back, man, and go get an Android. No disrespect to Android. Android, y'all straight. So don't come attacking me in the comments, y'all straight. But if you team iPhone and you still doing this, take your iPhone back. Why do you think iPhone created this line? Y'all see that line right there? Do y'all know what that line for? That line is for you to go back to whatever you left from in order. In order. I don't care what you came from. In order. If I leave this calculator right now and go out and go over here to Facebook, when I go back, calculator. If I go back this way, Facebook. Man, if you screaming Team iPhone, you better know how to do that. If you don't and you still doing this, take your iPhone back, get an Android.
Oh,
that's all I
my
gotta say.
God.
I'll do that.
Go get an Android. Good night.
Yes. He's like, take that iPhone away, get an Android. Oh my gosh. Okay. I have to be honest. That's me right there. I did not even know that. Why nobody told me? Y'all got me in the dark over here looking like a fool, thinking, oh yeah, I know how to use my iPhone. Jeez, peace. No, sir. Wow. I did not know that. Whew. Anybody else feeling a little bit silly this morning because you're like, I'm trying to find, hold on. Oh gosh. Wait a minute. Let me find my apps. I gotta try and get this app here now. Hold on. Let me see if I can. When he first did it, I was like, huh? Let me watch that video again because I could even get it to work because I've never used it. Now I gave up Blackberries a long time ago and I had no clue. Y'all just know. What a mess. Let me just see something here now. I want to see, yeah. So when I started doing it yesterday, I was like, oh my, like, seriously? I did not even know. This is so crazy. All right, let me see here now. How do I connect? Oh, hold on. Let me see if I can do this connection thing again. Link with camera. Oh Lord, I'm trying to remember how to. Hold on now. Hold on. Trying to do something else on my iPhone. How do I connect to this again? Is that Bluetooth connect? Oh no, this is I tell you, man, these things got all these features and you don't even have to use it. Okay. Oh, this is screen monitoring. Here we go. All right. Now don't message me on WhatsApp, anybody, because it's going to show up on the screen here in a second. Okay. So, oh yes, on screen code. So I have this option of pulling up my phone to show you guys. So do not message me because everybody's going to see it here in a second. So let me just hold on. Minimize some of my windows. Because Marlon says, he's like, boy, you love to have a window open on your computer. Do you know how much resources that uses up? I'm like, no. He says a lot. Okay. So here's my phone, right? This is my little phone here now. This is my iPhone. All right. So yes. So I always did that. I always did this to get to another thing. And lo and behold, you don't have to do that. Let me close that WhatsApp because I don't want y'all to be looking at my WhatsApp messages. I'm actually gonna close WhatsApp because y'all might be peeping at who's Sandy talking to. Don't WhatsApp me now. So yes. So apparently, let's go to the phone. Oh, the phone's probably not a good idea. Camera, same thing. So y'all see that solid line down at the bottom? How many of y'all knew that solid line did anything? To be honest, I've never really thought about it. I never thought about why it's there, but it's allow you to just go from one of your apps to the next. I did not know that. OMG, I feel so smart today. I'm just like, oh my God. No, sir. There's my Amazon cart. Photos. I'm like, whoa. Mind properly blown. So listen, there are a number of new features with iOS 7 that are actually really, really good. And I feel like we should probably go iOS 17. I keep saying 17, that we can go through now. Apparently with CarPlay, there's like a ton of stuff. Like you use CarPlay in your car, you no longer have to say, hey, Siri. You can just say Siri, and then she'll like do stuff. Oh, look, she's starting this thing.
I don't have an answer for that. Is there something else?
So, and then she look at how she types it out. So they've made some improvements of people who might be like visually impaired or hearing impaired. So remember that typing bubble didn't used to be there. So that's good now, because if you don't hear it particularly well, now you can read what she said.
I'm not sure I understand.
Yes, sir. Siri, how do you stop kids from fighting? Siri, how do you stop kids from fighting?
From verywellfamily.com, emphasize kindness and coach kids on compromise. Being consistent with this proactive approach will reduce kids' fights in the long run.
Aw, look at that. Even that's it clipping because I'm on Bluetooth. Even Siri has an answer. She said kindness. Reduce, show them kindness. Aw. I don't know why I get this clipping when I'm using Bluetooth on this phone. Hold on, I'm just gonna disconnect it. Oh, I think, what is this other thing about mobile connected? What is that? See, the second I turn off Bluetooth, it stops making that annoying noise. I gotta figure out why it does that. But anyway, even Siri said, use kindness. Teach your kid kindness. Teach them what you want them to emulate. What a mess. All right, folks. We'll do more of the tech stuff. But there's a whole lot of improvements that they have done, which is kind of nice. Like I said, I was kind of thinking about upgrading, but I've changed my mind. I'll tell you why. Because the sole reason I need to upgrade like the physical phone is for the camera and video capabilities, because I actually use that for work. So I have to justify in my head now, because I'm not 25 and 30 anymore. I'm a little bit smarter with my coins. I need to justify it really making sense for me. Now, unless somebody wants to just give me an iPhone, I can give me an iPhone, I can test it out. That's a different situation. But if I have to pay for it out of pocket, I'm kind of like, The improvements in the phone, I have the 13 Pro Max to the 15 Pro Max now. They sound kind of lackluster. So I'm not ready to drop that kind of money on little improvements. I need something bigger with the camera. So I'm hoping that by the 16, I'll be hearing a lot more about camera features, video, and so on. But to be honest, after a while, you can only push it so far, right? I mean, it's like the cameras are pretty good. So, I do all my recordings now on my iPhone, and I've got big thousands of dollars worth of camera gear, and it's just easier to carry. It's easier to set up. I need to do a quick interview. Boom, you're done. And it's not all this lighting setup and this and that. And most people visually looking at it, especially in social media, they don't even know the difference, nor do they care. As long as they can hear the context of the interview, they're pretty happy. Johan, late this morning, sit in the back of the classroom, sir. Why are you coming so late? What were you doing? I hope you're working. No other excuse will be accepted. So lots of technology. I like the fact that Samsung and Android phones, Samsung and Apple are always kind of neck and neck, trying to compete with each other. I think competition's good. It keeps Apple on their toes. And, they're going to do what they need to do. So Jonathan says, how are you going to teach kids kindness when the ones given the remit to teach them or administer the teaching of them, are they themselves the worst kind of bullies? You mean, wait a minute, the parents? Parents are bullies? Now, y'all know full well that Jonathan talking about the teachers, but Jonathan, I'm going to challenge you to say that they're not the ones, teachers are not the ones who should be teaching your children those types of lessons. You should have been teaching them that from day one, from before you even popped them out, from when they were in your belly. You teach them how to be nice and kind. And then when they're born, you continue the lessons. Not really a teacher's job. Now, I'm not saying that teachers should be bullies, but why are we putting that on teachers? They're there to teach a lot of other stuff, the math and the English and all those other skills to try and get them into a decent trade school or university. So Phineas says, Sandy, I had my iPhone for the last 8 years and she is going strong. Oh no, they last listen, they be competing with Nokia because I've dropped an iPhone before all the time. The only thing is, I don't know about dropping them in water though, because normally that's going to be the death of them. Everton says the new phones are out. They're now like $2,000 a pop. That's what I'm telling you. I'm not dropping that kind of dough unless I can see a real benefit, and then it becomes a business expense. So let's see what the iPhone 16 brings. But you know, what I love is though, they've upgraded. So this is my 13 Pro Max. I still get the same iOS as the new phone. So that's nice. I mean, they update all their phones, millions of phones. One of the reasons I really actually like an iPhone, unlike Android, like every version of Android has a different kernel number and a different version of the software. And it's like really, really weird how Android phones work. And that's why for our show phone, we use an Android, and I went and bought one version, that one would work. And then I had to try to figure out which version worked. And the company that makes the board that I use, they're like, oh, gee, there's so many different software versions that we can't even tell you. Like we can't say, oh, if you get an S whatever, that's going to be the one that's going to work. And I was like, what? And it's because of how Android phones are. Each one has like a different firmware version. iPhones, not at all. They're all the same software. Everybody has iOS 17 and it does the same thing for everybody. And then you can customize it, you know, based on some individual preferences. Thank you for clarifying. Jonathan says the statement does not diminish the responsibility of parents. Well, I think we need to focus our energy on where the real issue lies. And I'm going to go with the parents. Magnum Opus says that the typical mentality of too many of our young people always expect someone else to do something about everything. No initiative or effort to put their own sweat into anything. I'm not going to disagree. Let me see here now. All right, let me talk about some littering a little bit this morning, and also isn't that full screen already? Oh, that's nice. Just discovered something else again. Oh my gosh, y'all. Every day you're alive, you can learn something new. Look at that. All right, so the poor little shark that died. You know, I guess it's possible that this pollution, because sometimes the pollution in our waters isn't directly from us, like, you know, debris comes from different places, but we're also, let's take some responsibility, as Magnum Opus just said. Let's take some responsibility, folks. We are really not doing a good job with being friendly to the environment. We are killing the sea creatures. We're killing land creatures. We're making oil seep into the ground. We're just doing the most to harm the environment and always looking for some excuse about, oh, we're a small little island, so it doesn't really matter. No matter what we do, you know, it's not going to harm or hurt the environment. And I want to disagree. There's a lot that we can do. And I think we need to change with a mental reset on this. You know, I heard somebody talking about the premier recently, and I had to pause and sort of take on what they said, because he's been the first premier to have this sustainability, resilience and sustainability ministry. And he believes in, you know, trying to help the environment. A lot of you have taken the position that that's all he does. And I think that that's really, it's unfortunate. And maybe this is a PR thing for him that he needs to work on. Like, oh, he's planting another tree, and as though that's all he does. But what strikes me as interesting is because we're actually not used to any leader in this country or anyone in this country even caring about the environment and trying to make it a priority, that finally when we get a premier who does, he gets labeled, and I'm going to say unfairly so, as just being the environmental person. And that's all that his legacy is going to be. And that's all that you guys will see him as. And I think that that's quite unfortunate. So someone said, you know, oh, he's not in favor of the east-west arterial expansion. And I said, well, that's interesting because he actually has said the opposite. He hasn't said that at all. What he has said is that we have to go through the process, right, of the environmental impact study. That is the legal requirement. And no MP, no premier, no anybody should be coming along telling you that we can circumvent that process for the sake of expediency, and really political expediency, amongst other things, at the sake of destroying the environment. That should not and cannot be permitted. And he said that he doesn't have the power to just set aside the law and say, oh, well, let's just skip the environmental impact studies and whatever that's done or that are required to be done. And instead, let's just push this road through. Nor would he want to do that. So he doesn't have the power to do it, doesn't have the legal power to do it, and he doesn't have the desire to do it either. Because one of the important things that will come out of that assessment process is not only their recommendations on whether the road should even be built or not, but if they say, okay, you can build it, but this is what you need to do to mitigate damages in particular areas. And this is how you can avoid destroying more mangroves or this or that. So they will give you alternatives and things to consider and mitigation plans. And that is extremely important for the experts to be able to look at that. And so every single politician who just says, well, we just need to push the road through, we don't care, you know, so I said to the person, when I explained that to them, they're like, oh, well, you know, they didn't know that. I thought it was interesting. I said, really? I mean, seems to me the premier needs a little bit of help with his messaging. Because if that person, this person's pretty well connected in the community, you know, came in, whatever, and if they didn't know that, I'm thinking, how many other people think that the premier has said he's against the east-west arterial? Because he's never actually said that. And the other thing that he said is, listen, if we say we're going to just throw this, which, listen, it wouldn't work because, you know, the NCC is going to challenge it legally and they're going to win, right? The government's going to spend another $2, $3, $4 million fighting each other, and ultimately the NCC will win. So he said, but the thinking that an MP can tell you, let's disregard the laws that are put in place to protect the environment and ultimately to protect the Caymanian people. If they say, let's disregard that law, what other laws, when it's expedient for them to do so, will they say, well, let's disregard that process as well? So the process is there for a reason, and it should apply equally to everyone. And we have to subject ourselves to the process. Because when you don't, unfortunately, folks, that's when things start to go a little bit haywire. Mm-hmm. All right, we had a caller. My apologies, they were calling. Maybe they ran out of credit. We'll give them a call back. So, oh yes, I was going to show you the little baby shark here. Poor little thing. Here he is. He's suffocated because of this shoe. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sandy Dexter here.
Hello, Mr. Dexter.
This is going to be kind of short and sweet, so I'm not going to call you back 4 or 5 times. I don't want to run any competition with anybody. A big shout out to our premier. If somebody don't take the bull by the horns in 5, 10, 20 years, we are all going to regret it. People think it's all about making money. It's not about making money. Developers don't come here and think of how they're going to save this island. If we don't have laws in place to prevent and stop the developers from coming in and destroying what we have, no doubt we need We need the economy to grow, but we also need the environment. I remember when Marna Turner, when she was building her house down by close to the Marriott, she went on. I don't know how she ever got her house built so close to the water. And guess what? I think it was about 10 years ago when they had that bad beach erosion. She almost lost her house. It couldn't happen to a better person. And that's the same thing with the Marriott. When they were building the Marriott, I went down there, and the steps that it was the patio was completely caved in. You know, I take my hat off to Dwayne for doing what he's doing, and many people need to reach out and tell him, listen, you're doing a great job. Somebody got to put a stop to all this development.
Yes.
Where the hell are we going to do when all the trees are gone? You know what happened? It's going to be just like Haiti. We think where they have all these. We're not gonna have no mudslides because the island is flat. But nevertheless, as I see it, the way that they're going, it bothers the hell out of me. You know, and people got to care more. And I've seen more expats and foreigners, as you want to call them, taking and dumping their garbage, the plastics and the cans in the bins down there by Kirk Supermarket. How many Caymanians have you ever seen do that? No. You know, so Caymanians got to come out of the box, think outside of the box.
Yes.
You know,
Indeed.
that's like a little thing I have here that I took off. Sometimes we have to listen to our grandparents who taught us if all things that grow were taken from the earth, there could be no life. If all the four-legged creatures were taken from the earth, there would be no life. If all creatures that crawl, swim, and live within the earth were taken away, there could be no life. But if all human beings were taken away, life on earth would flourish. That's how insignificant we are. No, and it's sad. I mean, government spends a fortune around Christmas time, and you go down on the highway now and look at the garbage that people dump. They don't dump big bags of garbage, but every little bit hurts. You know, and I've always said, why don't they make it mandatory that every truck that is used for commercial purposes have a canopy over the top of the garbage that they're carrying. You know, it's sad. People got to think outside of the box. Otherwise, in 10 or 15 years, we are going to regret it.
Thank you.
I'm not going to be around that long, but my grandkids are going to be here. My kids will probably be here. Anyway, Sandy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being the voice of the people of this island.
Thank you so much, Ms. Dexter. Yeah, I mean, I agree. What a mess. I think, there's balance that has to be struck, right? So someone was saying, magnum opus, touche, point taken. He says it's amazing how mangroves can be mowed down on West Bay Peninsula and South Sound. No problem for the environmentalists, hypocrites. There's no equity in the application of that law, none. Well, what I know is a lot of them who are now self-proclaimed environmentalists are living in mangrove land themselves. And in order to have the properties that they have in South Sound and elsewhere, mangrove was cleared out. And I asked them with all due seriousness, would you be willing to give up your home and give up your land for us to replant mangroves? And not a single one of them will say yes. So the hypocrisy is alive and well. Very much so. Denver is saying that our taxis, cruise operators, and small businesses are losing a lot of money. Even mainstream businesses are far off of their revenue from our cruise ships. Denver, this country has got to make a real decision about cruise ships. The environmental impact of cruise ships is counterintuitive to everything, and they do not spend a lot of money. The problem is the cheapest people in the world are the ones who travel by cruise ships normally. Few exceptions, but I'm talking about the rules, right? Not the exception to the rule. And so what you have happening is millions of people coming off of a cruise ship, and on average, they're spending $25 a head on our shores. You're not going to make no money off of those people. And they want more and more and more, bigger ships, mega ships that do more harm and pollute the environment and the earth and our waters more and more and more, and tear up our reefs more and more and more. For what? They still don't want to come offshore and even spend any money. We need to focus on the experience that the person who comes for 4 or 5 days, a week or two every single year off of a plane has, as opposed to someone who comes here for a couple hours off of a cruise ship like sardines. And those of you who rely on cruise tourists for your dollars, COVID should have taught you, if it hasn't already, that you need to start looking at some alternatives, because that industry will be on the decline, I think, no matter what we do. And the government, there's only so much the government can do. So what's the government going to do? Allow those mega ships to come in? We're going to build and tear up our environment in order to put the pier down that they want so that they can come and dock here, and they're still not going to spend any more money? The havoc that they cause in the days that they're in Georgetown. These are the things that we need to consider. So I'm not so sure that the business case, Denver, supports encouraging more cruise ship or encouraging the cruise industry to come here more than they already come. They will spend no more money, and having more and more people is not necessarily what you want when they're not the caliber and quality of people that you hope to have. That's some tough decisions that we need to make. Aliano says, true that. Did a trip last week with the MSC, 65 people, and only made $10 US in tips. Cheap, and cheaper. What a mess. Magnum says, I think the issue with the East-West Arterial is who will benefit beyond having an actual road. The road has to be built. Climate resilience and mitigation cannot just apply to only one side of the island. Yes. Denver says wrong, CMR. He doesn't agree. He says he's got 43 years in the business. Well, you need to look at the declining spend and the trends with cruise tourism. Like I said, they keep building these mega ships, but that doesn't mean you're going to be making any more money. All right. I mean, it makes sense for me when I think about it to develop the area that is going to cause less havoc in your environment and actually earn you more money, which is your stay over tourists. Okay. When's that inaugural flight to Barbados, by the way? We're going to Barbados, folks. I want to see what Barbados looks like. I'm interested in going. All right. So there's 4 bills passed in Parliament this week so far. Folks, Parliament started on Tuesday. I invite you to go and listen to the proceedings. They're on YouTube. They're live streamed. You can listen. It's important that you listen. There's a number of things on the agenda. And if you don't pay attention, you're not going to know what's going on. So the bills passed were the Public Lands Amendment and Validation Bill, the Plant Protection Bill, Terminal Charges Validation Bill, and the Proceeds of Crime Amendment Bill. Ooh. What did they change in that one? We gotta go listen. And then there was a motion accepted for rezoning in Georgetown East. And that was rezoning from low density residential to neighborhood commercial was accepted unanimously. And then a land returned to the rightful owner. So Deputy Premier and Minister of District Administration and Lands, the Honorable Julianne O'Connor Connolly, reported on the vesting of Crown land, and they give you the block and parcel number, to Miguel Apolonio Ramos. The minister explained that the disposition returned an undeveloped area of 0.23 acres in Prospect to the rightful owner, which was Mr. Ramos. Okay. All right. So we'll find out a little bit more about some of these things because, again, I think it's important to get the details of what's happening in the Legislative Assembly. And unfortunately, most of you do not watch what's happening, and then you want to comment on what the government is doing from what not the government isn't doing. So I think y'all need to make sure you're paying attention. Couple reports have been tabled. So we have the annual report of the Ombudsman's Office, the report from the Tourism Attraction Board, annual report from Cayman Airways Limited, annual report for the Port Authority, and the report to the Ministry of annual report of the Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resilience. Those are all linked. So when you go in the story on CMR, you can actually go to the report. Now, I noticed that Renee didn't link some others. So it means that those links are probably not yet available. The reports might not be online as yet. So I'm going to chase up the Premier's office to see when those reports will be available for us to grab the links for those. Okay, so if we have it, like I said, we believe in sharing the knowledge and information. Okay. Okay, all righty. So here's the link, folks. Go and have a look at all those reports. Ombudsman's Office, Tourism Attraction Board, Cayman Airways, Port Authority, Ministry of Sustainability. This one, I want to see the Cayman Islands National Insurance Company. That's Cineco. I'd like to see what they've been up to. And also the Cayman Islands Development Bank. I also want to know what they've been doing as well. So I'd love to see their reports. All right. So it should be on Parliament's new website. If it was, we would have linked it. I'm assuming. Okay. All right, chasing up some stuff for you folks. Not to worry. We are on the job, honey child. Let me just do a quick perusal of messages. So I'm chasing up. I did a little FOI media requests on some stuff. So we have another order paper that's out for the third sitting, which was just released by the clerks. So I always send this to Renee so she can have a look at this so she knows what's on the agenda. Oh, okay. All right. Chase that one up. Let me see. Oh gosh, what a mess. I need to read that one. Parliamentary summary. All right, folks. Very good. Okay, so I think we are just about out of time. So I'm going to wish y'all a beautiful day. Today is Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. So we'll do Consumer Friday tomorrow. You guys be safe, and I'll see you tomorrow morning.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels. And visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.